y'all. Bravette, I saw you when you came in before, brother. It's been a minute. How are you? Wow, it's been a long time. Hope all is well with you. Welcome to the room. Welcome to the room. Good morning. I'm blessed, brother. I cannot complain. Life has been very good to me. Wow. Congratulations. Congratulations. They say love wins, right? Thank you for coming back, Deanna Lynn. Anybody in Atlanta, y'all need to get with Miss Deanna Lynn. She know how to make them meals. Good morning. I know that's right. Praise the Lord. I'm liking the positive energy, y'all. I appreciate that.
Hey, friend.
What's up, friend?
Shabbat shalom.
Your skin look real good.
I'm just on that Jag sale.
Uh-huh. We're gonna have to talk about that because I like what it's doing to your face. Oh, she froze up on me. Good morning. Oh, she froze up. What's the box? I saw you pop.
Was circling too.
Oh, okay. So you're back.
I'm here. So
Okay.
yeah,
So
this
we gonna
46-year-old skin ain't never been nipped, tucked, stretched.
we
I'm
gonna talk
working
about
on
that
a new
salve
blend
though.
though. Oh yeah. I'll tell you about my new blend. I'm actually putting natural organic collagen in it.
Oh, okay. We gonna get to that. So
Okay.
firstly, how you doing?
I'm formidable.
That's the word you're gonna use?
Yeah.
It's early. It's early in the morning. That's what you're gonna use?
Yeah.
Formidable?
Yeah. On ready. On go. I am formidable.
You know what, sis? Amen to that. Amen to that. So we're on your way to Starbucks. Gonna snatch you a coffee. Okay. All right.
So
I wish I had.
I need a coffee for this conversation.
You already know. You already know. You already know.
You look
So
so
we.
great, Chike.
I do. I'm trying. You know,
You
every day.
doing. You doing.
Thank you. Thank you. So for those of you who don't know who this young lady is, she is the incomparable Jaguar Wright. Uh, Jag is and has been um, a great lover of the arts and a promoter for the arts, like myself. You know, the whole reason that I'm here doing what I'm doing is because I love the arts. Uh, Jag and I began to know each other mm, 7, 8 years ago.
Hood was little. Sam was
Yeah,
little. And he's
yeah,
20
it's been
going
a
on
minute.
21 now.
Wow, wow,
You knew
wow.
him
It's
before,
been a long
before
time.
puberty, so it's definitely a good 13, 14 years, if not more.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Because I was at an event that Jag was, and I stationed my stuff up. Jag was one of the first celebrities to come over to me and was like, "What are we talking about?" And then from that point on, like anytime that I've ever wanted her ear, even when she was living out of town, she used to come into Philly. We used to go, "What you at? What you doing? What you doing? Let's go to breakfast. Let's hang out." And we forged a relationship. She's one of the dopest chicks out there. So I say all that to say I'm on this line with a legend. Those that may know it, may not know it, do your research and you'll find that this woman is a legend. She started a whole musical movement, or helped start a whole musical movement, um, basically out of New York first, and then it caught on in Philly. And it was the Black Lily, which got you that neo soul movement that we had back in the 90s. She was a part
Yeah,
of
that
it.
thing. Yeah, yeah, that thing I did 20 years ago. Those were
Ah,
magical times, man.
yeah, yeah. So
I
I want to go before that. I want to go before that. And
okay.
what was going on with you before that? Because during that time, that was I was in college. I was in where was I? It was in Virginia during that time. So I wasn't actually around to be a part of that. But I
Right.
probably would have been cool back then.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
definitely would have been. Listen to me. If you had been at the Lily Me, you would have been like my Ace Boom, and I already know it.
Yeah. Yeah. So talk to me about what was going on with you before that. Before that broke through. What was up with you?
Wow, that was the crossroads, man. I was at the crossroads. I I was frustrated because I knew I had what it took. I had been ghostwriting. I had been doing all kinds of stuff. My work was good, but they kept stopping me. And every time I went to a meeting, we're not looking for another Mary J. Blige, but I don't do what she does. And I was a Mary J. Blige fan. Well, you kind of look like her, and you kind of this, and you got that hip hop thing, and it's like, so this is the Guardians at the gates. You know what I mean? Don't mess up Mary's bag brigade. That's what we doing. And come on, you can get through that. You can get squeeze through. Now, like you got to give people encouragement, you know. So it was like, fuck it, I'ma do me. I'ma just sing live on stage, and somebody's gonna hear. Now my recording game was always tight, but nothing ever beat my live performances.
Hmm.
Everyone said that. Your recordings are great, but live, you're better. So I just was like, I'm going to sharpen that up. I'm going to sharpen that up. And I had a kid who was going, he was 5 years old, and I had to make it happen. I ran on the military. I was supposed to have been in the army. But, day of swearing came. I got an offer to work as a roadie on a tour with Wu-Tang and a few other people. And I said, the road, basic training, the road, basic training, the road. And that was that. And so like there was so much going on. I had just stopped auditioning for Broadway plays. I made it to understudy for Nala for The Lion King, but I didn't get the big gig. I was like, I didn't come here for second fiddle. I'm going to get this done. Then I started working with Bryce from Groove Theory, Bryce Wilson. So when my roads really went was when I was about to sign at Sony to be the next girl for Groove Theory with Bryce Wilson after Amel LaRue had left. And I'm
Hold
doing
on.
Black Lily at the same
I'm
time.
sorry. hold on for a minute, Jack. I just want to put things into perspective for people that don't know,
Okay.
and because I want it to be razor sharp of where your trajectory is at this point. So
Right.
she just name dropped Bryce Wilson, the same Bryce Wilson that wrote "You're Making Me High" for Tony Braxton. That same Bryce Wilson, in case you don't know. He was in a group called Groove Theory. Amel Larue was the other part of Groove Theory. Amel Larue went to the School of Performing Arts in Philadelphia. A lot of people don't know that.
With Questlove.
With Questlove, with Boys to Men, so
Yep.
that school kicked out a whole bunch of people. So I want you to look at her trajectory and where she is in the lineup of artists that are coming together during that time. So you have Boys to Men, you have Amel Larue, you have Bryce Wilson, you have Questlove that's over there. And who else is in there? Mark Nelson of As
Yeah.
Yet, he's around. Like all those people are swirling around in the city of
Yeah.
Philadelphia. So this is where she is at this point in her life. Now go.
Yeah. So, Bryce is, because he was busy, he was really working hard to find a replacement for Amel. I mean, the deal that he had for Groove Theory, essentially, it was just him and her, and when she left, they needed to find someone, and Bryce was like, you need to sign. Then he would have his old manager, who's now Jamie Foxx's personal manager, Breon. Breon would call me, Jag, what you gonna do? Jag, what you gonna do? And I'm like, boom. And then they hit me and they was like, look, we got a $50,000 signing bonus for you. And this was back in the late 90s, $50,000 for a signing bonus for somebody who's just, trying to get their life together and get started in the game. That's not a bad deal. Single mom, kid, 50 grand. And I thought about it, but I was doing Black Lily. And I was
Mm-hmm.
also getting pressure from the Roots because they was like, are you running around with Breon and you running around with Bryce? What you gonna do? Are you gonna be with us? You gonna be with them? You gonna be with us? And this was right at the same time they were about to get their first imprint, Motive, on MCA Records. So I'm thinking about my options. And we did the Chris Rock show and it was a smash and everyone loved it. And, What You Want from The Best Man was out there. The Best Man, super hot movie. Like, it's all of these things. And it's like, are you going to be with us? You're going to be with us. You're going to be with us. You're going to be with us.
Mm-hmm.
When I was living down 4th and Catherine, Bryce Wilson drove down from New York in his Bentley, held up traffic in the middle of 4th Street. Because, 4th Street, that's going towards Washington Avenue, away from South Street. So he's got the whole block stopped, standing outside my window. Fuck you doing, Jack? Fuck you doing? You need to sign this shit. Them Roots niggas gonna fuck you over. You loyal to a fault.
Wow.
In the middle of 4th Street. So I could sign this contract. And these were my options. I could take the $50,000, be signed to Sony, which at that time was the biggest label in the game. I could be with Bryce Wilson, sexy ass Bryce Wilson, who's a dope writer, who's a dope producer. It's going to be huge.
Mm-hmm.
But I won't be Jaguar Wright. I'll be the girl from Groove Theory like Amel was. People didn't used to say Amel Larue. They called her the girl from Groove Theory. And Groove Theory was Bryce's brand. Now I'm going to sign this. It's going to be his brand. It's going to be his music. It's going to be his production. It's going to be his check, publishing checks. And I'm going to do this for $50,000 and split in per on dates on the road. I wouldn't have become Jaguar Wright.
So let me ask you a question, because I want to circle back around to something that you said before.
Yeah.
You said that you kept getting put on hold because people thought that you were too similar to Mary in your presentation.
Well, that's what they would say. But anybody that looked close, like barely similar to her. And you got to remember, this is contemporary times. Everybody kind of wore the same kind of styles and urban wear and stuff like that. Like, This is me being me.
Hmm.
TLC wasn't no phenomenon. I know thousands of girls that dressed like them that weren't famous before they became famous.
Right.
So basically, y'all might give me a deal if I alter my appearance to the point where I look absolutely nothing like Mary J. Blige. Hank Shockley was the last one to say, I ain't bringing you here to be her competition and lose my job. Hank Shockley said that to me in a meeting. Good morning. I need a pumpkin grande, a pumpkin cold brew with extra shot of vanilla.
You want the cream cold brew? You want the pumpkin one?
The pumpkin.
I'm reading your comments like stuff in here.
And I need a croissant, a plain croissant warmed up.
Is it my friend? Hey, friend.
Hey, what's going on, friend?
How you doing?
I'm doing good, girl. I'm sitting here. We doing live. We live on the Instagram right now. I'm in the middle of an interview.
All right.
Tell everybody hi.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody.
They can't see you on the screen, but they'll see you pull around you in the window.
Say left. Say left.
All right. Okay, babe.
You're a nut.
I love the pumpkin. I love the pumpkin cold brew. The scones be hitting too, but the scones, if I'm going to do caloric intake right now while I'm hiking and training and getting my body back together, I'd rather have the butter and not the fat. Well, I mean, butter is fat, but you know, the butter croissant and then all that fat content in the scone, it's a lot. I have to like do an extra quarter mile. I'm lazy sometimes. I ain't gonna lie. Yo. Good morning, Starbucks.
So what I'm trying to get at is like, okay, so it wasn't going to work out for you that way, but how does someone like a Faith comes through and they kind of put her in that trajectory as well? They kind of make her.
You got to understand, that was a deal. That was a deal, Chike. Faith didn't come through. Faith had to fight her ass off and make every compromise possible to get where she got. She married a man she didn't know for optics.
Wow.
I've never really talked about it because if I'm correct, Faith is my relative. We're related. We're distant cousins.
Wow.
My cousin Alma told me that, Lady Alma. My cousin Tommy, he's like, he's the family genealogist. He found everybody. Ryan McKnight's ex-wife, Julie McKnight Johnson, that's my cousin.
Wow.
Yeah. On my mama's side. Ain't that something? Well, actually, my mama granddaddy's side, not my mama's side. My mama granddaddy's side. That's the different side. And them the fields. So, anywho's in Faith have been singing in the church, killing it, ghostwriting, doing people's vocals, doing all kinds of stuff. Her and Kelly Price kind of had the same problem. Nobody wanted them out front. But Faith was just willing to put it on the line a little harder. Her and Christopher Wallace only knew each other for barely 2 weeks when they got married. Puff is the one who forced that relationship. She had to marry him to get the deal.
Wow.
And he did that because he needed to create separation because Kim and Biggie together were way too powerful. He wouldn't have been able to control Bad Boy the way he did if he hadn't. Say hi to everybody. Wait a minute. Can everybody see my girl? Say hi to everybody. That's my boo thing. That's my boo thing. If you ever come through Duncanville, you better be nice to my boo thing, because I cut for her. So, anywho's in Biggie and Kim, if Biggie and Kim had actually been able to be in a relationship, they would have muscled the hell out of Diddy. They'd have muscled him. But see, keep everybody separate. Because see, that's what he does. That's what Diddy does. That's what Honeycomb do. Divide and conquer. He did it in Uptown, and he did it in Bad Boy. So Faith made the deal. She marries a stranger. Kim is treated like the mistress by the public, even though she was the love of the life. And that's the kind of compromise Faith had to make so that she could get the access that she got. And they still treated her like a second-class citizen. Mary hated when she had to sing Faith songs. She hated it. Hated it. So, you know, everybody makes compromises and there's all kinds of deals. Now, you got Faith doing her thing. You got Biggie, the biggest thing in the world. Little Kim being archetyped as the mistress, the head mistress in charge, the bottom bitch, when the truth is she was really the chick. I ain't going front. But this is what they did for ratings. This is what they did for hype. And that's what he did for control. Having people follow and all that.
You were uncompromising from the beginning. Is that what you're saying? That's why you didn't keep us so far?
Absolutely. Compromise for what? I've always been this way, Chike. You know that. I've lost gigs. I've lost campaigns. I've had to lose at least $10 million in work over the course of the past 15 years just because of what I won't do. Like, you should never check or try to challenge a person who's willing to throw away millions to stand in my principle and my integrity. So why is everybody so surprised now? Just like I wasn't surprised when Faith married Stevie. It's the same deal as Biggie. Marry this nigga and we'll give you a TV show. But the TV show fell through. Mona Scott ain't even hold up her end on that. See, it's a cycle. You see how that turned out?
So what was the thing that made you go with the Roots?
They were paying me $250 a week. Bryce offered me $50K. The Roots had me on salary of $250 a week. And all the free rehearsal time I could get. It was a shit deal. Except for one part. I got to build my name. See, that was the part that was priceless. They was paying me $250 a week. But while I was with them on their platform, I was ringing bells and becoming historic at the same time, which meant I was building my name. And as long as I could build my name, I could make $1 anywhere. I just need my name. So I took the $250 a week and I made history instead. As Jaguar Wright and not the girl from Groove Theory.
So in those early days, at what point do you know? I mean, you've always been you. You know,
Yeah.
I know you almost implicitly. Our birthday is on the same day. So
I know.
I want to know, during that time, when do you know that you know that you know that you could fly solo if you wanted? You had enough following at that point. You made enough smash at that point. At what point did that happen for you?
When I showed up to Black Lily on a Sunday with the whole crew in the van coming from Philly, and we pulled off the Holland Tunnel. Doors didn't open for 2-3 hours. You know, we had to come get ready for sound check, all of that. And there was a line all the way around the corner waiting to get into the Black Lily. at the wetlands at the corner of Hudson and Layton, Manhattan. We had only been doing it at this point for about 4 months, and the winter time was coming. And these people were wrapped up in jackets in Manhattan on a Sunday night, all the way around the corner, and the doors didn't open for 3 hours. And we like, they all here for the Lily? We asking like, what y'all here for? I got my hoodie on. I got my 5411s on. I'm kind of ducked. I'll go into the club. I would always show up in sweatsuits and stuff, and then I put Jaguar on inside, you know. So I started walking up to people. I'm like, what y'all waiting for? What y'all doing out here? Oh, we waiting for the Black Lily to start. You waiting for the Black Lily to start? Well, who you come to see? We came to see the Jaguar. Lines wrapped around the corner. And at that time, I was still the opening act. Them niggas showed up early because they didn't want to miss me. And then after I got off stage and finished my show, everybody walked out in the club and that's why I had to go on last. So people would stay to see me. Because whenever I went on, when I got off stage at the Black Lily in New York, the show was over. I've always been the show. But it was in that moment when I saw that, I'm like, damn, that's power. That's power. And I knew, I got it. All I got to do is hump this out. All I got to do is do this grunt work. I'm going to let these niggas treat me however they want to treat me. I'm going to agree to everything, but I'm going to make my name. And then Jay-Z Unplugged happened, and you know.
So tell me about how that came to be. That fact that it was you. And
When
not
Jay-Z
some other
Unplugged,
female. Yeah, yeah.
it wasn't supposed to be me.
I know. I want you to talk about that. How did it come to be?
They called me. I didn't. When I found out that the Roots they was doing Jay-Z Unplugged, you know, it was a big deal. It's a big thing for the kid. I was very happy for them. I wasn't looking for nothing. I didn't want to be a part. I wasn't asking to be a part. Somebody said, Jay, do you think they're going to bring you in on it? I'm like, for what? It's a Root show. I'm Jaguar. This is a Root show. And it's a Jay-Z show. I was like, I ain't going to be there, and Reek ain't going to be there. Even though it's a Root show. I ain't going to be there, Reek ain't going to be there. Then I got the phone call the day before. They needed to find somebody that could sing all of the vocal samples, and there was a ton of them. There's a lot of Philly International stuff back then. Between Just Blaze and Kanye, they was sampling everything that Philly International had to offer.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's my homegrown sound. You know what I mean? It made sense. And I had the vocal capability of doing it.
Right.
With energy. Even in the background. So, you know, Amir was like, Jag, will you come up? And I'm like, no, I'm tired because we had just got finished shooting a Coca-Cola commercial. They behaved very badly. They treated me like a second-hand citizen, like a second-class citizen at my own Coca-Cola commercial while I was pregnant. You know, and I was like, hey, ain't my kind of hot baby. You know, so I'm like, yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good. I'm home. I get to rest. I was in them high heels. On that set, my back is killing me. My baby's growing. He's getting bigger in 5 months. I'm good. Like, good luck. I hope y'all have a great show. I'll be watching. I'm rooting for you. 20 minutes later, I get a phone call from Richard Nichols. El General. Richard Nichols. He said, Jay, I just got you a ticket on the Acela Express. Be at the 30th station in 40 minutes. And don't miss this train. I ain't got time to pack, Rich. I'm not up for it, Rich. He was like, you ain't got to pack. You got money. Don't you got money now, Jag? You can buy something here. Get on the train. I'm like, Rich, this is their moment. No, they got on my nerves. I ain't fucking with them like that. He said, Jag, get on the fucking train. I said, okay, Rich.
You really didn't have too many. You didn't have too many times to say no to Rich.
No, not at all. Not at all. Not Papa Bear. You ain't saying no to Papa Bear. Amir called. I think Tina was like, "Are you sure you don't want to come?" This is when Tina first came around. And you sure? No, I'm good. I'm good. Get the fuck on the train, Jack. I bought you a ticket. Get on the train. You can buy some shit. So that's what I did. I went to FYE at 30th Street Station, bought every Jay-Z CD that they had in stock, bought a Sony Discman, some whack-ass headphones that I had to press to my ear so I could hear every pitch, every note. Studied on the 92-minute train ride, ran over to 7th Street, hopped in the cab, at the cab stand, went over to the rehearsal studio. I get there, Mary J. Blige had just got finished doing her segment of the show. You know, she the queen of fucking pigs. And, she had to go first and let the peons rehearse after her. That was the biggest mistake of her fucking life. She should have stayed for that rehearsal so she wouldn't have been fucking, with the whiplash the next day at sound check. Because all the shit that I practiced, most of it I did before she was set to come on the stage. She had to come on after Heart of the City. I know that hurt. I know for her that was a hurt moment. She had to come on after Heart of the City. There wasn't no energy left in the room for you. There wasn't no oxygen.
And if you look back over that footage, everyone that's in that space bows down to you. Everyone.
It's the energy that I bring. It is synonymous to only me. That's why they called me. They called me and they begged me and they asked me to do it. I turned it down 10 times until somebody cussed me out. And I acquiesced. Then I come and do exactly what you asked me to do and you got a problem with it? Get a life. Y'all know what I do. I did what I do. I always told people it don't matter. I don't care if I go on first. I don't care if I go on last. It's going to be the same show. My spot on the roster does not dictate the level of my show. 5 people there, 5 million people there. It's going to be the same show. So you call me there. We make the history together. I have a good day on the job. And now I'm enemy number 1. Well, then you should have let me stay at home. I was content. Ain't no good deed goes unpunished. And let's be clear. Nobody got paid for the MTV Unplugged show. That was a free gig. Let's be clear about that. No one got paid for that show.
I want you to take me in the room. So the performance is over. Everything is taped, ready to go. What is the energy like as you're getting ready to come back south to Philly? What's the energy like in the room? Because you just killed it.
Like this. No, all right, I'm going to put it to you this way. It was mixed reviews. Everyone that had nothing to do with the Roots crew was... Okay? This is the Roots crew. Yeah, it was a good show. That was the energy I got from my own. And then it became even more solidified after we did 106th and Park at King's Dominion Live.
Mm.
So we get down to Virginia. Everybody all geeked. R.I.P. Malik B. In militant. You best believe. We gets down to Virginia. Everybody all excited because we're now being included in. We're not just the dirty backpackers anymore. We're now being included in shows with the cool kids, right? So we get down there. And the fellas is doing what they do. It was their time to go on stage. The Roots. And they sitting there, they playing adrenaline, and everything is cool. And I'm standing backstage because, you know, I had to come out for my segment in the middle of the show.
Mm-hmm.
And there's at least like 10,000 people out there. And there was no reaction. They did not respond to the Roots at all. I was heartbroken. Because I'm like, we come all the way to fuck down here to be here with the cool kids. And these niggas are sitting here staring at y'all like y'all something in the zoo. 10,000 people and no reaction.
And then also, too, I just want to add, like, during that time.
Until I got on stage.
So there's no doubt of the energy that you bring to a situation.
Yeah.
But for the sake of the Roots and their artistry, they were doing something new to music at that time. And everybody wasn't.
Yes, they were.
It was a niche. It was taster's choice, pretty
Definitely.
much.
It wasn't pop culture music.
No, it wasn't. So.
But neither was I.
No, you weren't. But what I believe is the connection of the two is what made it all palatable together. And can't hold you. Y'all were dynamic together. Like, it's like a diamond.
One of the best things that ever happened to hip hop and soul music in the late 90s and early 2000s was the combination of the Roots and Jaguar Wright. Nobody did it better. Listen to me, it was because of that fucking prick I am with ain't got the Fergie.
Yes.
What we did. Okay, Player Tour. What I did with the Roots. They've been still trying to find a way to make it real. They've gotten close, but it really haven't. Not that. And nobody will ever get that again. Unless we were to all do it together again, which I don't think is ever going to happen because they all hate me.
We're going to get there. This is a slow moving train. We're going to get there.
But anyway, so King's Dominion, I walks out on stage and I look at everybody. And they start playing my music. And I was like, y'all sitting here staring at us like we something out the zoo. Nigga, get up. Okay, player. Next thing you know, the whole, I perform, I do my song, we do What You Want, and then I do the What Ifs, and then we do Ain't Nobody Playing, and they begged me to do more. Not the Roots, the audience. When I ended my segment with the Roots that day, and I went to get off the stage, the whole audience said, no! And when I left the stage, the Roots went back to finishing they set, and the audience went back to this. We get on the tour bus. It was one of the most awkward moments I ever had with those niggas. We get on the tour bus after the show. And everybody talking about, oh man, y'all did great. Jaguar is amazing. Where did you find her? She's exactly what this band needs. We get on, oh man, it's a good thing. Fucking Kamal. Man, it's a good thing we brought our secret weapon today. That was rough. And then that's when Tariq looked at me differently. And he said, you had a great show today. And I knew in that moment, This is the beginning of the end.
The singularity of it all.
And then the stripping and the lightweight hazing began there. I'm the only artist they had on that fucking label that sold any goddamn records. And without a marketing budget. And without a radio budget. Listen to me. They got so much money off of my budget that the Jazzy Fat Nasty second album, The Tortoise and the Hare, was funded through my budget. I paid for their album. Of course it's CBD. Of course. But you know.
So what is like you have to promote that album now. So you're out and you guys are already starting to separate. What's that like for you? Your promotional tour, like, and you going around trying to push this album that
I
you
was
have.
focused because I knew they were setting me up to sabotage me secretly at every turn. And it just became disappointing. So my objective was, I'm just going to be fucking phenomenal everywhere. Try me. And that's what I did. And they blocked me at every turn. I'll never forget, I got a phone call from a girlfriend of mine who did costume design for the fellas. She worked with me, but they hired her. And they was gonna pay her more money, so I lost it to them. But we never lost our friendship. And so she called me when they were doing Radio City Music Hall. And music was coming with them. And they said, Jay-Z asked for me, is Jag gonna be here for the show? And Amir told, no, she's not gonna be able to she's very busy with her family and her children or whatever. And so the costume designer said, well, wait a minute, I could call Jackie right now. I'm sure she'd come up for the show. And Amir turned and looked at her and said, if you like your job, shut the fuck up. I said, she's busy with her kids.
Wow.
It must suck to have to literally take food out of innocent children's mouths so you can feel better about your ego. Every job they cost me, that took from my kids. I had no choice but to work twice as hard.
So I'm going to play devil's advocate because I am a Taurus as well. And I've also seen you in your element. I know what you are when you rehearse. I know how you are when you're doing sound check. I know how you are backstage. When it came time for you to be with them in those instances, what's happening when you're in those times? Like when you're doing sound check, is there bickering? Is there arguing? Is there any cutting out happening during that time?
Everything was sub. Everything was sus. Everything was just under the radar. It was cold warfare.
And that's unfortunate. One of the things that I like to highlight when it comes to the artists, especially people that I know, and you're just human too. You know, although you're kicking out this art and you're on stage and people adore you and they look up to you and you
still just a person.
You're still just a person and you're still going through some real shit. Real shit is still happening to you. So this is a job. You're on your job and you're not getting along with the coworkers right now.
No, my coworkers weren't getting along with me. I was fine. How about that? I was fine. I was not bothered because I was worried about me.
So what would happen when you were performing without them? Like when you would go off and do stuff for Jag without them?
I mean, it's the same thing. I'm ripping stage. I couldn't wait to be able to break free so I could run my own ship.
Right.
As hard as I worked and as much money as I made, people, I had the right to dictate the quality of my environment around me. I was grateful when I was able to start getting my own tour bus. I was grateful. No more random ass in the morning just walking around, going through people's luggage and bags and shit because it's a bitch picked up in this city, but y'all planning on dropping her off in the next city and not giving her no money to get back home. Like that kind of shit.
Mm.
The kind of whack ass, hoe ass shit that I saw on tour buses with rappers. Couldn't wait to get my own bus. Peace and tranquility. Oh, I'm gonna be digging up the roots. We're not done. Trust me, I'm back. Where I said it when I first posted. I'm back and I'm picking up where I left off. I finally got the camera crew now. I finally got a production team now. I finally got everything. Y'all gonna get everything now.
We not there yet. Stop
Oh, I'm sorry.
it. So, second project is coming out. Divorce Neo to Marry Soul. What was in your, where was your headspace during this time? Because were you divorced or you were getting one?
The divorce process was just starting.
Okay. And you were very pregnant.
I was divorcing the Roots and my ex-husband at the same time. It was a whole lot of divorce going on.
And you're very pregnant.
Well, no, I had already had Sam. I was pregnant during the first album.
Oh. So wait, let's go back. So
okay.
During the whole Unplugged and all that stuff, you were pregnant.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was pregnant in a hoe. When we listen to All-Star City, when the All-Star, dang it, I'm trying to look for my other thing because this thing is just a pain in my ass. It's one of those chargers that charges your phone when you put it on the base, and then it makes the phone hot, and then the Texas sun, and it's a pain in the ass. It's a pain. It's all just a severe pain in my ass. But you know what? I'm gonna just hold it for now. I'm gonna hold it. Mm-hmm. So, Jay-Z Unplugged, I was pregnant. The Coca-Cola commercial, I was pregnant.
Mm.
When we did All-Star, when the All-Star NBA All-Star game came to Philadelphia and it was hosted by OK Player and the Roots at the Electric Factory, I was 8 months pregnant.
Wow.
Dressed in leather, made by O.J. Simpson's daughter, Arnell. She was my stylist while I was pregnant.
Wow.
She custom fitted all my clothes, all my maternity stage clothes. Shout out to Arnell Simpson. Love you. Still. First album, I was pregnant. Second album, I'm getting divorced from everybody. It was a lot. Writing that whole project. I was grateful when Carvin came to me with the song Flower, because that was one song I didn't have to think about. All I had to do was sing.
Shout out to Carvin Hagen, one of my favorite producers.
He don't love me no more, but I still love him.
Oh.
I still love him. I understand why he mad at me. He won't talk to me.
Mm.
But no, it's cool. Like, it's cool. I get it. Everybody has to operate in their purpose. Everybody. And I wish him nothing but the best. And the truth is he has great intentions for the future of music. Mm-hmm. And his efforts and the things that he's doing are monumental. And I pray that everyone supports him. When he started, Rage Against the Ratchet campaign?
Mm-hmm.
Not enough people got behind him on that. And I know that he's moving around and doing other things. And I hope everyone supports him, because he truly does have the best of intentions for music. He's such an amazing writer, and he's a very talented pastor.
Yes.
And he's a father. I love you, Carv. I'm sorry I pissed you off. I'm sorry I hurt your feelings, but I had to say it. See, my position in life now is I have to question and keep in question at all times my personal integrity. I got to stand for what I believe in. And if telling the truth is going to make me lose a few friends, then that's the way the good Lord intended it. I can't argue with that.
So the part of why I'm telling this arc, I'm painting this picture of your story the way that I am, is because I want to map out and show your trajectory so people can see where you are, how you got here, and why you do some of the things that you do. Because of our close proximity, I got tired of people coming up to me. Why are you so crazy? What's wrong with your girl? Reel your girl in. You need to call her and tell her to slow down. I'm like, you just don't even understand. Nothing's wrong with her. She's all right. She's all right.
And that was the hardest part of stepping forward for me, is because I knew that the people that I were close to, that were friends with me, that loved me, were going to get roped in whether they wanted to or not. And that's why my total extraction from life for me was so necessary, because I felt bad. Every time I call someone to say, hey, girl, do you know somebody called me asking me? I didn't do this for that. I didn't do this to create complication in other people's lives. You know, and I'm like, this is my cross to bear. Chike, we can keep it all the way 100. The last time we talked.
Are you talking about before your birthday last year?
Before
Yeah.
our birthday.
Yeah. Well, yes. Yes. Our birthday. And you were supposed to be with me, and we talked about being in. And just to put full disclosure, tell everybody what happened. I had a conversation with Jag about us doing this, and Jag basically asked me, "Why do you want to do it? Do you understand what kind of heat is going to come away? You sit down and have a conversation with me." And my disposition is this: I know her as a person, and I love her as an artist. Love her as a person, love her as a, but I fell in love with her art. You all right?
Yeah, I think somebody watching me. That's all. I'm just.
I fell in love with her art first, and with that, um, I have to bolster it. I have to support it. I want more Jag projects to happen. I want to see Jag perform more. They got the free popping now. I need Jag in here with an intimate night. I need to see her like that. I want her back like that. So for me to be the flashlight and to shine a light on her story so people can see why she is and how she is where she is. I think when people wrap their mind around it, they'll think differently about a lot of ingredients go into that too. Yeah.
Possibly. And there are some people that can hear all of the truth and can hear
Yeah.
everything and say, I still hate that bitch. She said this about Mary J. Blige. I hate that bitch. She said this, and it's like, okay. Okay.
Wait a minute. You're doing the interview. I mean, you're saying, are you good?
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good. No, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So going back to the story, we're at the second project, forcing Neo to marry Soul.
I was divorcing everybody.
Right.
Like, people don't realize how literal my art actually is in proximity to my life.
So what's going on with you during that time?
Soul.
What's happening?
Well, MCA was folding. We all got kicked over. Those who didn't get dropped, we all got kicked over to Geffen. And all in the midst of this album, I had to get out of the deal. I started looking at the way things were going, with the kind of artists being signed, with the kind of agendas being pushed. And I said, I'm not going to play their game. But if I'm still in the system, they can shelf me, keep me under contract, and I'm not going to be able to do anything anyway, unless I agree to rock on their agenda, which I'm not going to do. So I found me a good Jew lawyer. Said, get me out. Even though I'm going to take a hit being an independent artist, I'll still be able to have the flexibility to operate my name. I just got to work harder. That's all.
Yeah.
I just got to compromise. I got to cut back on some things. I got to shut some things down, but I still get to operate under my name without their oversight.
Talk about that a little bit so that people truly understand what it's like to be under contract and some of the things you can and cannot do.
Well, to be under contract is to be on the plantation. It is to be a product for them to use, manipulate as they see fit. You could write the best album in the world that would have the most profound effect on society, and they say, no, we ain't selling that. We selling titties, ass, drugs, and fentanyl. That's what we selling. You ain't talking about that. We ain't putting you out, and that's that.
Yep.
That's that. You cannot leave. You can't go and make an album with another company. You can't even make an album, honestly, at some points, independently. They'll stop you from making money. They'll call up all the booking agents, don't book her. They'll call up all the promoters, don't book her. They'll call, like,
which is also known as being canceled.
yeah. This cancel stuff has been around for a long time before it had a name.
I don't know if you caught any of my interview with Beat Slade, but we talked about that. In my interview with him I did last week. And he was basically before it was a cancel culture, he was basically canceled then and shut out of the business. So he wasn't able to make any money. He wasn't able to do any shows. And it basically freezes up your Okay.
That was my mom.
How's she doing?
She herself. Bless her heart.
No, I was basically telling them about B. Slade and what happened to him and how they shut him out the industry way before cancel culture was a thing.
Hey,
and
wait a minute. I can give you another name. Terrence Trent D'Arby.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
He ran afoul of Tommy Mottola, and he's living in Europe.
And Terrence Trent D'Arby was a name that was everywhere. You
wish
couldn't
me
be
love,
on. You could not.
wish well, kiss
Yeah.
and tell. Oh, wish him well with butterflies.
He was so big during the radio, like when radio was really popping. You
when
could
radio
not go.
mattered.
Yeah, you couldn't go at least. I would say within every hour there was a Terrence Trent D'Arby song playing.
Yeah.
Maybe 2, because he had 3 out at one time.
Blame It on the Rain.
Mm-hmm. Sign Your Name Across My Heart. That was my favorite.
Oh, sign your name across my heart. I want you to be my lady. Oh, yeah.
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 No.
And could dance.
Yeah, he could.
He was a hell of a performer. And then he started messing around with Tommy Mottola's daughter. And then he was the king of everything. And, he started running his mouth a little bit and saying some things about how things were going in the family and all of that. And he had some words to say about, his future father-in-law's conduct. And the next thing you know, that was it. He was done. He live in Europe now. They don't even play his records on the radio anymore.
No, they don't. And it's a very real thing how you can be iced and pushed and shut down to the point where you cannot even make money. They
Yeah,
close you out your own life. That's
yeah.
crazy.
If you don't do what they say, if you don't behave, I'll never forget the first time Sean G looked at me like I was crazy when the checks started rolling in and the accounts was looking flush and things was looking good. And I said, please make sure you take 10% of gross revenue and send it to this church for my tithes.
Mm-hmm.
You're just going to give them $10,000? Well, I'm not giving them anything. I'm paying my tithes to this institution
Mm-hmm.
because that's what God requires of me, and I want my business to be blessed. I don't see this as a sound financial investment, other than the fact that it's a write-off. It's a good tax write-off. I said, no, it's not a good tax write-off. This is what God asks of me, and this is what I do, and this is how I intend to protect my business. When you got to fight somebody about paying your tithes, you know you're dealing with the devil.
That's crazy.
You know, so it's like, imagine that, you know, so I'm going through all of this stuff and get off the label, and I got my master's, so I was able to go. And that's when I did the deal with Artemis, and which is what, you know, ended up happening. And in the midst of finishing up that album, you know, that was the first time my ex-husband hit me with divorce papers, and he wanted $8,000 a month alimony. Since I was the primary breadwinner in our relationship at that time,
Mm-hmm.
or should I say just higher grossing breadwinner, because he had a job. He always had a job, always working for the Lolo company, and for Ralph Lipschitz. So who's Jewish. So, you know, I'm on the road 250 to 300 days a year touring with either the Roots or somebody else and myself. Clearly, I was gone all the time. So he was going to get custodial parent if we divorced,
Mm-hmm.
possibly, unless I fought and had the structure set up for my children, you know what I mean? So he wanted $8,000 a month, child support, alimony. He wanted a whole bunch of stuff. He wanted rights to my catalog, and because he was working as my manager and his name was listed in the credits as one of the associate producers for the album, he felt as though he was entitled to some of my publishing, because some of the songs that I had written were about him. I owed him money for this. Like, it was, you know. And then 4 days later, his mother came to my house with a calculator and a notepad and started trying to walk around my house, calculating all of my assets, talking about she's figuring out a community property because half of that was going to be hers.
What?
And that was when I looked at her. I was like, you know what, bitch, you need to get the fuck out of my house right now. You need to get the fuck out of my house right now, yo, before I fucks you up. You ain't, I said, bitch, I'll burn all this shit the fuck down before any of you eat off of me. I said, I'd rather be broke and homeless than give you a penny. Fuck out of my house. So I got that kind of shit going on. And then I was having an affair. That got complicated because I got pregnant. And that got complicated. And then the man that I was having an affair with wanted to beat my husband up. And so he came to the house one day, and he was, you know, not going to leave until, you know, he was going to throw him out.
Wow.
And I had that kind of stuff going on. And I wasn't trying to have any more surgeries. I was still on Percocets for the back pain from my scoliosis. I was drinking regularly.
Mm.
It was a lot. It was a lot. And then what I ended up finding out later was that someone paid my label to fuck up my release date on the album. When Divorcing Neo to Marry Soul was scheduled to release, there were no stores in the album. Over 100,000 people showed up in at least 8 major markets, and I know because I called myself. They had the posters up, the promos up. People were in line waiting to buy the album, and there was no album in store. Rather than having it shipped overnight, they sent it ground. And so my album showed up a week and a half late to the stores. We still sold pretty good when it finally made it there.
Mm-hmm.
But the hype behind my release date and the video free looked beautiful and everything was great, and no album in the store. And that was after I left the system. Imagine that. How incompetent does a record label have to be to send their number one artist out in the world a week and a half late? Why the fuck would y'all miss that money? But then that company folded a month later and they went bankrupt and they kept whatever money they got. That's how I know. That's how I know Interscope paid them to tank my album.
Mm.
That's a whole lot of work, isn't it? That's a whole lot of work. And that's when I said, okay, we're going to have to take the long way home. Every time I've worked to put out a project, set up a deal, get something out, next thing you know, something falls through. It's been that way for 14 years. For 14 years.
What is the boot on your neck? What are you experiencing with the boot on your neck?
With the who?
With the boot being on your neck, like professionally. What's happening?
I mean, I learned how to breathe. You know how, like, when the snake, you know, some slaves, when they would hang them, some of them survived.
Yeah.
They learned how to adjust the skin and the bones in their neck just to make sure there was enough air to make it through. And then when everybody went away, they had to pull themselves out of the noose and then jump down from whatever tree or fall down. That's what it's been like for me. I've learned how to breathe despite the foot on my neck. And I just got to play dead and wait for them to get tired and they walk away, and then I get up, dust myself off, and I go back to work.
It's not funny, but yeah.
You know, breathing is a gift, but it's also an action. Can't nobody take your breath unless you choose to let that happen. There is a way. You can always fight. You don't just have to die. You can just find a new way to live.
Talk about that. What is fighting like? What does that look like in your industry? What does fighting look like? Because people don't understand, okay, you're getting a lot of Janet right now. A lot of Janet everywhere right now. That lady was fighting for her life because she was blackballed. She's fighting for her life.
People don't know it.
No, they don't.
Don't know it.
They don't know it.
They
Janet
don't
is fighting for her life. And she makes the fight look so good because she's a veteran. She's been at it since she was a kid. She knows it.
Listen to me. She knows how to deal with the slings and the arrows and the this and the that. She's part of one of the most controversial music families of all time, and that family has so many secrets and so many stories. Like, I can't even begin.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even begin. I love Janet because Janet mastered the art of perception when it comes to this business. She's mastered it. But, you know, she still lives in the shadows too. But some people, they like living in the shadows. They've gotten used to it. Janet Jackson we're talking about. That woman is the biggest bisexual I ever met in my life.
Mm.
But she don't advocate or rep as LGBTQ. Everybody know Janet Jackson bisexual than a hoe. But you never hear her mention it. Like, what is so wrong with us in this world that we have grown comfortable with lying about who we are?
But I think that's part of the culture when it comes to how they deliver art to us. I think that with a lot of artists being influencers, right? They make that a way of life. They're
I think
lying
if
for a
Janet
living.
Jackson came out and identified as cisgender, bisexual female, I think she would be heavily embraced.
I think so too. But that's not the path that she chose.
Well, no, it's not that that's not the path that she chose. That's not the system that she was raised to operate
That's
in.
true too. Yes.
Janet has been being taught personality suppression since she was Penny on Good Times. This is innate now. It say it in the Bible, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is older, he will not depart from it. She was trained to lie about her identity. She was trained to lie about who she really was. She was trained to lie about all of these things, and now in her 50s, she's still operating under the system that was introduced to her.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things too, a tell sign for me is that you look at some of these artists. How are you having all these artists break down and having these issues with suicide or going to a hospital or a rehab? You know, it's something about the industry and the pressures of it. When you don't come and feel individually whole, it will eat you up. It will tear you down.
Well, that's what happens when you lie to yourself.
Yeah.
Eventually, the mind is going to reject the lie and say, "This ain't who we are." Eventually.
And then anybody that really bucks up against the system, like for example, the time that Mariah Carey had to go into the hospital, she was tired of living the life that she was living. She was fighting for her life. Oh,
Well,
she's
it
crazy.
wasn't just that either. It wasn't just that. See, you know, I got a new interview with Real Life Street Stars out.
Yeah, yeah.
And the first installment came out last night, and I had made mention of Mariah Carey and Tommy Mottola.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that I'm about to say, consider it alleged. Put it under the Fair Use Act, established in 1976. All opinions, everything about to be said, are the opinions of Jaguar Wright and Jaguar Wright alone, not to be a reflection on conversations with Chike. Absolutely, Chike, in any way, shape, or form. Is that a decent disclaimer?
That's a decent disclaimer.
Okay. So basically, don't sue him, sue me. Tommy Mottola and Mariah Carey's marriage was a match made in hell.
Well, she said that. She said that.
Now, this is the thing. She gets no sympathy from me because you was playing the game, Ma. You was playing the game, and you won for a long time, and on the low, she's still winning. All I want for Christmas is you, the biggest win that came out of that marriage.
Mm.
Because that's going to be her great-great-great-grandchildren. But she played the game. Like everybody, a lot of people like to still have this romantic idea of Mariah Carey just being this sweet woman who doesn't want to get old and likes young guys, but she's really great. I mean, the truth is she's a fucking evil bitch. That's just the truth. I have nothing against it. You know what I mean? The kind of choices she's made in her life, she would have to kind of be an evil fucking bitch to live by some of those choices. The shit that she did to Brenda K. Starr was totally out of fucking control. You the baby's godmom. That doesn't mean that you actually just get to take the baby and pretend to be a mom because you couldn't have kids. You know, because that was all back before IVF and all of that came out.
Mm.
But, you know, I mean, Mariah's done a lot of shifty shit. But the shit that she did with Tommy Mottola, I can't say that I have any feelings about it, except for the fact that what they did to his wife and his kids was despicable. It was always, well, Mariah, if you want this, you got to do this. And then Mariah would turn back, well, if this is what you want me to do, this is what you got to do. You know, the younger woman, older man negotiation of how we both gonna get over on each other relationship. The simple fact that she made such a stink about him divorcing his wife for 25 years, who he had children with, this woman who stayed with him while he became everything that he became. And I'm gonna talk about the Jennifer Lopez aspect of this too. So, you know, he divorces the wife. Then while, you know, the divorce happens, they have this big fairy tale wedding. Mariah gets dressed up, yada, 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 blah, 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 blah. Then alimony and child support. Mariah was the one who was adamantly behind not paying his ex-wife no child support. They stayed in court for 2-3 years. She wanted that woman cut off. All existence of her and her children wiped away. So, you know, I don't feel bad about what Nick Cannon done to her. You had it coming. You ruined that family. You made a mockery of that woman and her children. I don't like women that are betrayers of women. So you do all of this, and then you start fucking everybody. She was fucking everybody, and everybody knew it. She was making a fool out of every rapper she could get her fucking hands on. She was fucking, and everybody knew it. Tommy got sick, and he got tired, and he realized, like every older man who runs after a younger woman trying to revalidate his existence, that you gonna get made a fool of. So what did he do? He went and created himself a new bitch, and he got Jennifer Lopez with her non-singing ass. They spent so much money to make her credible as a singer. That white Mike that she always calls him. I know the dude. I know the dude in New York who built that microphone. That microphone back then, 20 years ago, with that technology, cost $150,000 fucking dollars. That white microphone that Jennifer Lopez be singing on. Because they had built the vocal pitch, which now we call auto-tune, into the microphone, so when she sang into it, she wouldn't sound like how she really sounds, which is a fucking hit dog hollering. Tommy Mottola invested good money into building up Jennifer Lopez. Woo! All to come after Mariah Carey. Mariah wasn't lying when she said they was out to get her. Mariah was not lying. She was not lying when she said that they was out to get her. But bitch, you had it coming. Fuck you 174. You went, took that man from his wife, took that man from his children, made a public mockery of all of them, and you don't think karma, you don't think you deserve a little karma too? I was sitting back laughing at the whole shit. I was laughing. I was like, this is what these niggas get. And I knew the second that they put Jennifer Lopez with Benny Medina, it was over for Mariah. I knew it. I said, shit. Ooh. I bet you wish you wasn't in the back of that limo sucking his dick to get that deal now.
Wow.
So, you know, this is how the game works. And then everything was going great until Jennifer started messing with Honeycomb, and then she shot that nigga, and then they had Shine take the ball for it. Allegedly. Like, people really don't understand. Jennifer Lopez shot that fucking nigga because he was grabbing up on her, trying to fucking make Puff mad. She fucking went Puerto Rican crazy, and she shot that motherfucker, and they had Shine take the fall, allegedly. Remember when I first started speaking out and I said, be speaking up about how evil this nigga is, it needs to be Jennifer Lopez. They did a whole lot to cover up that shooting to make sure that Tommy Mottola's prize-winning horse didn't have to be taken out of the race so she could continue to drive Mariah Carey crazy. Allegedly. That's why it's so funny watching her with this whole Ben Affleck thing, because it's like she's trying to get do-overs for all of the shit that she fucked up when she decided to become a plan and a plant to destroy another artist, and then you sitting here trying to create this fake Hollywood lifestyle and trying to create this whole perfect image of all of this shit. You know what I mean? She should have stayed with Mark Anthony, and they should have never got involved with the Smiths. If they had never got involved with the Smiths, they probably would have made it as a family, because I think Mark Anthony is the only nigga that can handle Jennifer.
Mm.
You see what's happening with her and Ben Affleck now? That shit ain't working. It wasn't working then, it wasn't working now. He had problems with the prenup she had in the first prenup. He had to have sex with her X amount of times a week and all of this. I just wonder how he deals with her whole fetish with fucking niggas in the ass with dildos and shit, like she used to do with Honeycomb.
Oh my God.
I don't know.
Jaguar right, lady. Jaguar right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, the second that Jennifer and Mark got involved with the Smiths, their relationship was over. It was doomed to fail, and it all ended right there on Hawthorne. When Mark and Jada had that hot, steamy kiss, the ratings went through the roof, and then the show got canceled. I guess because your husband found out you was fucking that nigga without him.
Wow.
That's what happens when you start wife swapping and whole copping it. And you saw what happened. Hawthorne ended. Jennifer and Mark ended shortly after that. Just like Billy Bob Thornton and Angelina Jolie after Monster.
Now I can. Yeah.
My mom. She don't care nothing about my life online. She don't care nothing about it. That ain't reality. Reality is what I need right now.
So
I'm telling you, all of these people out here, it's all smoke and mirrors, it's all crap.
well, the whole purpose of that, it seemed we did go down a rabbit hole, but the purpose of that was to show examples of what can happen when foot is on the neck and you're not whole when this industry starts dealing with you and biting on you. And so at this time, you got a foot on your neck, you got divorce is happening, and you started this affair.
Listen to yeah. So I'm in the affair, and you know, it felt bad because it got to the point where I felt like I was cheating on, you know, my paramour being with my husband. Like, that's how flip-flopped it was. Like, I felt like I was cheating on the man that I was cheating on my husband.
Wow.
That's how disconnected we were as a couple. That's how disconnected we were. And I had a breakdown on the road. I had a
Were you drinking at this time?
Oh, hell yeah. Heavily. And popping Percocets. For the wrong kind of pain, you know.
Yeah.
I was trying to help my back, and the truth is I was trying to numb my mind. Because I knew it was going to be a rough road. But I G'd up and I prepared for it. And that be that.
So,
And then not long after that, that's when Jill hijacked my band, and then I had to train a whole new band in the middle of a world tour.
Was that the start of the derailment? That part? Yeah.
There was a lot going on during divorce and Neil to marry, so that was probably one of the most traumatic experiences in life that I've had as an artist. Because I was fighting.
Oh, she froze again. I don't know about y'all, but I'm enjoying this interview. Jag is over. Oh, you came back. You're back.
Yeah, vodka martinis were my friend and Percocets were my therapist.
Wow.
Until I OD. Which I'm not even sure if I OD'd. I actually really do believe my ex-husband messed with my medication. Because to come home and find me in a pool of vomit and blood on the floor in our bathroom, in our master suite, and all you do is clean me up and put a nightgown on me and shove me in the bed, and you ain't call a doctor, you ain't call an ambulance, you found your wife like that, and you did nothing. I was out for almost a full day and a half before I woke up. When I woke up, my throat was so raw, I felt like somebody had just scraped everything with sandpaper, and I was having a hard time speaking. And I said, how long have I been out? You've been out for almost 2 days. You've been out for almost 2 days. Like, he had an attitude that I was awake. And I said, I've been out for that long. Why ain't I at the hospital? What's up, Nino? What's going on? Tell Mom to come on if I'm taking her to church. Yeah, I know she been ready. I'm in the middle of an interview. What? You got a funeral to go to? Condolences. Condolences. Don't get none on you. So, anywho's then. Actually, can you take her? Can you take her so I can finish this? Huh? I'll clean it up if you can take her. No, she your mama too. Yes, she your mama too. She your mama.
I love it. I love it.
So, anywho's then, I asked him, why didn't you call the ambulance? And the first thing that came out of his mouth was, I didn't want them to think I tried to kill you. Huh? Well, what would make you think they would think that? What would make you think they would think that? If you came home and you found your wife in a pool of vomit and blood on the floor.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Okay. All right, good. Swap. Huh? Nothing. Gerald's gonna drive you.
Tell him I said thank you.
I will. So, you calling me in the middle of an interview again. I was on my way back. I just had to move around. Okay. All right. Everybody say hi to my mom. See, this is my real mom, not that fake woman they had on the Surviving Jaguar.
How you doing?
How you doing?
This is my friend Chike. You remember Chike from Philly?
Oh, okay. Been a while.
It's been a while. Have a good day at church.
Thank you. Thank you much.
You're welcome.
See, she walked and got in the car by herself. She ain't on a wheelchair or no crutches or nothing. I don't know who they was pretending was my mom in that surviving business.
Praise the Lord.
Listen to me. My life would be easier if she was in that wheelchair.
Oh my God.
It would be easy. I could keep a better eye on her. She be creeping off on you. I wish. But anyway, all right, let me get myself squared away so we can move around. We playing musical chairs. Have a good day at church, Mama. I'm gonna finish this interview. I'll see you. I'll probably come and pick you up because I want to say hi to Monica. We spoke.
Happy holidays, Mom. Happy holidays.
Oh, hold on.
All right.
Happy holidays.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Same to you.
Thank you.
So, here, I'm gonna let you open the door for your wife. Say good morning to Chike.
Good morning.
Good morning, good morning. Gary, get the hell up there.
It's your mama too. Oh, thank you. That's your mama too. Just slip them in my pocket.
My marriage.
That's your mama too. Because I want everybody to know that's your mama. So, that was what was going on at that time. And now I'm sitting here like, nigga, did you mess with my meds? Because I'm saying, honestly, if you come home and you find your spouse on the floor, I mean, in a pool of blood and vomit, and your first instinct isn't to call 911?
And
Does that make
you
any sense?
stay for a couple of days. That's crazy.
You didn't bother to check whether or not I might be brain dead or something?
Wow.
Like it just, that don't make no sense, Chike. And you didn't want to call these people because you were afraid they were going to think that you were trying to kill me. So I ended up checking up on my life insurance policy a week after that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I found out it had been bumped up to $1 million plus. Wow. And there was like extra codicils for accidental death. And so I was like, yeah, it's time. I got to make moves now.
Wow.
I got to make moves. And me and my dad came up with a plan to figure out how to comfortably bankrupt me so there would be nothing for him to take. And just protect my intellectual properties.
Right.
Yeah. That was divorcing Neo to marry Soul.
Wow.
Yeah.
So then in that
and I've been in court ever since.
You've been in court ever since? Wow. And then so at that point, you basically are starting from scratch.
Yep.
And tell me about those instances, trying to get started again. What are you noticing, like trying to dig your heels in and trying to...
It wasn't a struggle for me. Because, see, I had something.
Mm-hmm.
I had my name. It was just, it was an adjustment. But it was the same show. And I still got called to do work with awesome artists. And even after that, before Rich died, the last project that I did with the Roots was for Lay It Down, the Al Green album. And the only reason that I worked on that project was because Rich was like, there's nobody that can do this except for Jag. Like, it was sad that I was always the last one to be called because they couldn't find anyone else that could do what I could do.
Right.
You could have just called me and saved yourself all that effort. But no. And that was the last real project that me and Richard Nichols worked on together in his lifetime before he passed away.
Right.
But once again, Rich called, Jag, get your ass to New York. And when Rich called, I responded. Respond, react. Yeah.
So
It's been
what
an
is life
interesting
like?
life.
What is life like at this point? Are you like doing spot dates? You know, that's how you're making your nut? Is that how you're
Actually, no, I'm doing all of I guess you could call them spot dates. I'm doing all of my concerts virtually. Limited live in studio audience, cameras up, band
Oh,
on
I'm not
tilt.
talking about this. I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about then.
Oh, yeah, no, I was just working with independent promoters and building my relationships. And I had spent so much time building my relationships. That was pretty much all I had to do. Just make the
Hmm.
phone calls, call the people up, see who was going to book me, bring down my show
And
and just
so
work more.
in the picture that I'm painting, you're doing that, you're working more,
Hmm.
but you have to work harder to do it.
And make less.
Yes.
But I was
Now,
never in it for the money. I was
right.
in it for the art. So for me, it was like leaving IBM to start your own, startup tech company, and you take a hit because you know what you're building. That's how I felt about it.
So, and that's what I wanted to point out. You're an independent contractor at this point. You're out there on
Yep.
your own.
Yep.
You're making your way. Your little engine that could. You're moving right along. And next thing I know, I get a phone call. Jag is in jail.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What the hell? Jag is in jail. Why? What? When? How? Who? Where? What? How's Jag in jail? Oh, I can't give you any details. Well, what do you mean you can't give me any details? And then I found out the details. So talk about that. Talk about that.
Hold on a second. Sam. 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 I need you to go in my room. And on my side of the bed, I need you to grab that long charging cord and bring it in here. Are you presentable? Okay, but do you got like stuff all over your face?
No,
Do you got stuff in your teeth?
no.
I want you to come in here for a second and say hi to Uncle Chike. Bring the cord though.
Your side's on the right?
Yeah, the one by the window. So yeah, I think I'm gonna bring my son in
Mm-hmm.
a little bit for this.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah. I know I need you to come here. Plug it up. Oh yeah, this works. You got on Merry Christmas pajamas. It's perfect. It's like you did it on purpose. Where's the plug at?
Let's see, behind this wall.
Okay, try that one. Try that one. Hold on a second. Let me see what a cord. Yeah, see, this is a super long cord. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Jump, 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 jump rope, jump rope. Okay, here we are.
Hello.
What's up, Sam?
Doing good. How about you?
So,
What
did
is
you
it?
want me
Look at him.
Jag? He's a grown man.
He's 6'1".
That's a grown man.
Do you remember Uncle Chike
He probably don't remember me.
from Northern Liberties?
Oh yeah.
Remember him and Uncle David? Uncle David make it rain?
Like that long ago.
That long ago.
Wow. Wow.
So Chike was just we're interviewing on his IG page. So Chike wanted to talk about all of the arrests.
All right.
Okay. And I thought you should be present for this conversation because I think people need it's a lot.
Yeah.
So when the law became a part of my parenting experience to this amazing young man,
Mm-hmm.
the first time I was arrested was after your dad had that whole thing where he got arrested and y'all got kicked out of the apartment. So we're talking 2015?
2015, I think that was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hold on, Jag. Just because I want to put things into perspective. During
Okay.
this time, you're moving around, making stuff move. You're making money to feed your family by doing what you have to do. And I remember during that time, you had a major thing happening in Philly where you were basically trying to do what you're doing now, but
Exactly.
way.
Yeah.
And you were introducing new artists to the scene, because I remember going into those listening parties, going to those concerts, and it was
Yep.
building to be this big thing. So you're in motion to do this big presentation of basically the template for what you're about to do now.
Exactly.
And then now
Exactly.
I'm jumping back to you to fill in what happened to you.
My son got on a plane, came home, and said, "Mom, don't send me back."
Yeah. It, it's I could still remember what happened on like what on the one day in particular where everything basically exploded all the way back in June 3rd of that year.
Wow.
In my room, I'm in my room. I was either doing one of two things. I was either drawing or I was on my tablet. I'd hear I'd hear things in the main room over by the kitchen and the front door exploding. So I was wondering what's going on. I had a and just before I left my door, I heard my dad yell as if he was in pain. So I go out to see what was happening. I see him holding his nose, and with that, I could only consider that things were exploding onto an argument. And before his girlfriend at the time, Janice, left, she had hit him in the face, particularly in the nose, and he had told me at the time that it was noticeably damaged at the time or something of the sort. So she left along with her child. I never saw either of the two of them again after the fact. Uh, I then go to sleep afterwards, but on early that morning, before the sun came up, before daybreak, I'd see security members in our apartment, and they said that we had to go.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
The constable came to put them out in the middle of the night.
Wow. And so he comes to you and he's
And
aware
then
enough.
where did you go after that? No, wait a minute. There's more.
Oh,
Afterwards, my father had arranged a place for both me and him to stay with someone he knew who was living there at the time named Brandy.
By the way, he lied to me and told me they were staying in a hotel.
Not a hotel. It was, I believe at the time it was like a condominium that, let's see, I believe at the time after Regent's Park, both of us stayed in a condominium that was down the street from where Obama was, but it was where Obama's house was, but it was pretty far. It's like a 3 or like 5 or 6 blocks away from it. That's where we ended up staying for pretty much the rest of the time I was there in Chicago.
And who was Brandy?
Brandy from what I can remember, she had links with my dad, and
because they both worked at Polo Ralph Lauren together.
they did.
By the way, she was the side bitch. That's probably why he got busted in the nose from the baby mom, and then it turns out it wasn't even his baby. I don't know.
wow.
Most likely that. So I ended up staying with her for a bit, and then
He came home. I got him a plane ticket because my ex-husband had to go to court over that whole thing. And he came home. And when he got home, I picked him up at Philly International Airport.
mm-hmm.
And what's the first thing you said to me when you got off the plane?
I didn't want to go back after seeing what had just happened after a whole year. Like earlier points of the time when I was staying with him, like back in like
Here, hold the phone.
Like back in like January, February, March, things were relatively fine, all things considered. But April and May, things started to de-escalate between the two of them, and it wasn't until June when things exploded, and I felt like I'm not sure if I can really stay. There's this feeling that I have is like things don't feel like secure or safe over there. I'm not sure if I could like really live like that.
Yeah.
So
So I'm sure
Yeah,
that the people storming into you, like storming in the middle of the night, putting you out of your place, that's traumatizing. That'll stay with you forever.
yeah.
Wow.
It, yeah, it's like I remember it practically vividly after all this time, no matter how many years have passed from that point. It's like I remember other details going on during the day because I think I'm mixing it up with a later year, but I'm thinking also in that year and that day, I'd also got an appointment with an orthodontist checking out my teeth to see whether or not I should get braces or not to straighten them out, even though I
Mm.
think my teeth are fine. Yeah,
Wow.
remember those small details of it too.
So after you told your mom you didn't want to go back anymore, what happened?
She, she Uh, we talked a bit about it. I think at first I didn't want to exactly admit to her that about what had happened over there. I was trying to hide it a bit, but
Mm.
she knew something was up and she pressed me on it. So I told her everything that happened, and afterwards she told me is like if you don't want to go back, just tell me and you could stay here with me. And when I heard from her like maybe a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about this, she told me that him and her had an agreement that if there's something going on and I didn't feel right staying with the other parent that that I'd stay with whomever I thought I want to stay with best, which at that point would be my mom.
Right. Right.
So I would stay with her and her mom over over in I believe it was like in like a Conshohocken apartment place. I was fine with staying in there, and I was getting online schooling during like the start of the eighth grade at the time, mainly because schools in Philly mileage varies on the teaching.
Yeah.
Like yes, I may be a good student, but it's up to the schooling whether or not I actually learn all the material that I need to.
Right. Right.
So my father ends up hearing about this, and he's going like, okay, this is not verbatim, but he's like, wait a minute. He's supposed to be back here with me according to the new custody arrangement, where he's supposed to be with me during the school year.
Mm.
This isn't right. So he starts calling. He starts calling mom. I'm pretty sure I didn't have a phone at the time. Starts calling mom, telling her, "Hey, our son's supposed to be with me. Please send him over." She she would she wouldn't send me over because I didn't feel right going back.
Right.
It was at this point in time that I contacted DHS. Well, actually, he called DHS on us to have me declared as an unfit mother. I agreed to go through the process. And our person from DHS said it was a fit and stable home. He was a well-adjusted child, and that they were going to stand with us and say no. I did a post about it on my Facebook page years ago.
Yeah. Let me. I want to ask this question, and I'm being very black when I ask this question.
Please do, please
Go
do.
ahead.
Was there a price tag attached to your son with him being in that household?
Absolutely, because he wanted me to pay him child support.
Right. Okay. Okay.
So the DHS thing happens, and they say we don't have to. We go to court in Philly. Philly says if the boy says he feels unsafe with his father, wants to stay with his mother, and his mother's here and able to take care of him, and DHS says it's cool, the boy can stay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when he started pressing charges in Chicago. So I would have out-of-state charges and be forced to have to come to another state to deal with it. But the
Mm.
custody order was in Philadelphia, so that's when he tried to start getting it switched over to Chicago. But what he did was is he took the Philly order, even though Philly told him to go kick rocks, took it to the Chicago police, lied, said that I was doing all of that. And that was the first time you saw me get arrested.
Yep. Oddly enough, kind of a similar way when both me and Dad worked at Regent Park in Chicago. I was in my room. I was in the midst of doing schoolwork, staying the good student I always was. I hear something going on in the living room, so I'm wondering what exactly is going on. I left my room, see what was going on, and after making a left turn, then maybe like a step or two, I see my mother being put in handcuffs right in front of my eyes.
And
And
by the way,
what's so crazy about that to me?
wait a minute, wait a minute. By the way, while all of this is happening, my ex-husband is standing in the hallway with the police so he could take him.
Yeah.
And as the police was carrying me out, my ex-husband looked at me and said, possession is 9/10 of the law.
Possession, like he's a thing.
Yeah.
Wow. But what I was about to say, as a black man in this country, just calling the cops on family, and you know how it goes down. That situation did not have to be that way. It could have turned out totally different. Totally different. And your child is in the middle of that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So then you go back with your dad because that's
Yeah.
the way.
Yeah. Last. Yeah. So I go back with my dad, though. I believe before. I believe in the car.
Shout out to Night and Day Network. That's Isaiah and JR, who you talked to before.
Oh. Yeah. So like in the car, I don't know exactly where it was. It was like
Change
in
the
the middle of the
position
night.
of the camera.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. So this is late at night. I don't know exactly when he said this, but I think we're still in Pennsylvania before we left to Chicago to get back to Chicago. In the midst of the trip, I think he said, "Is like, son, at the very least, not verbatim, but what I'm saying is like, at the very least, that he was there to pick me up, because had that not been the case, if he wasn't there, I might have to stay in an orphanage for a little bit before he could pick me up."
And even knowing that he did it,
Yeah.
knowing he did it anyway, that's crazy. So, let me holler at your mom, because this is about her jail stint.
Okay.
So they take you to the clink.
Yeah, I went down to the roundhouse down 8th and Arch.
Wow.
And they were trying to
Roundhouse.
extradite me. Yup. That Gap sweatshirt that I had on, that's where they cut off my strings.
Wow.
And they took my shoelaces and they had me in the dirty cell. You know, I got to make a phone call. I called one of my folks. I was like, look, we ain't got the extra cash right now to buy me out. I need you to book me a show and then take the money, send it to my mom so she can come buy me out.
Right.
So I booked the show from jail, got the deposit, and you know, they bonded me out and I got out. And then we had to go to court. So the project that I had on the table at the time, I had to put on pause because I had to put all of my energy in the fight in this case.
Right.
So it all ended up working out. Pennsylvania told Illinois to go kick rocks.
Mm-hmm.
This is a Philadelphia issue. Philadelphia says the boy can stay, yada, yada, yada. But Chicago left the charges active.
Mm.
So as long as I was living in Pennsylvania, I was cool. As long as I didn't leave the United States, I was cool. But if they found out I was anywhere else, the warrant was still on the book. They kept that warrant out for 2 years.
Wow.
So at this point in time, this was right before we left to move to Dallas. He goes back, but we still got the custody agreement, so I still had Sam for the summer.
Mm-hmm.
We moved, this was 8th grade.
Mm-hmm.
We moved to Dallas right after he graduated. We drove to Chicago to pick him up. And it was crazy because I was pregnant at the time. And I ended up having a miscarriage because of all of the stress.
Mm.
Hmm. But I went to go pick my baby up. We went back to Philly. We had some great road trips. We
Yeah.
went back to Philly, packed up everything, and we moved to Dallas. He was so happy when we got to DeSoto. The only thing that was missing was Giovanni because he was still in jail. He was still serving.
Right.
But because of that, I was able to get him out on probation and move him to Texas where they have a better probation system than they do in Pennsylvania. He was able to work, get a job, you know. So I'm like, all right, we're down here. We got life started. He's got a fresh start, a clean slate. And I had my boy. I would be able to have both my boys. So I went and got a lawyer. $15,000. And we started fighting for custody.
Mm.
And we were going to get it. And then my ex-husband played another dirty stunt. Went back to Chicago, even though he was no longer living there. He had already moved back to Pennsylvania.
Mm.
But he called Chicago anyway, pretending like he was still living there, said that I had abducted him, that I refused to return him. But in the order, it says he's supposed to be returned to Chicago. You're not even in Chicago. You're in Philadelphia. You don't live there no more. If I'm supposed to turn him to Illinois, who he going to? Because you don't live there no more.
Wow. And that very
But
stunt.
Chicago arrested me anyway. And that was the second time my son saw me arrested. We were on his way. I was about to take him to school.
Mm-hmm.
He was because you were going to
I was going to Cedar Hill, right?
but that's not the name of the school.
Ah, that's not. Oh.
What's the name of the high school over here in Cedar Hill? Dang it.
Dang.
It's been a lot of schools, man.
I know.
But anyway,
I want to go back to that stunt of him not being in Chicago,
yeah.
calling for charges there.
Yeah.
You're in Texas, and you brought up a good point. Who does Sam go to, right? If that had been carried out and there was no parental guardian in Chicago when he got there, both of you could have lost custody. Both of you could have lost custody.
Yeah.
I know.
That's crazy.
But you know, he tried it anyway. And Chicago be so thirsty to clear felonies because they don't solve murders that they take anything. Now, this is a non-violent crime. Now, mind you, wait a minute. No, I forgot about a whole nother arrest.
How many were there?
4.
Yeah, there.
One in Philly. Then right before we moved to Texas, because I had a gig with Terry Lynn Carrington in Morocco. We did the gig at the Palace. We flew out. I went to Madrid, met with Gordon Chambers in Madrid at the airport. Flew back to Miami because I had to go back. Hold on, wait a minute. Which arrest was this?
This was. Let's see.
Yeah, no. I'm right.
Yeah.
That other arrest came first when he was in school.
Right.
Hold on. Anyway, there's been so many arrests.
Mm.
So when because I got back from Morocco, flew into Miami, and they arrested me on the plane. Because I had left the country. And there was a warrant out for my arrest in Chicago. So they come on a plane. We're arresting. Are you Jacqueline Wright? Who's asking? You've been a child abduction, and they saying it all loud on the plane for everybody to see. And I said, child abduction? Where's the child? I got to carry on. You abducted a child. What do you mean I abducted a child?
And just to put this into perspective for people that are like absorbing this, that is the Amber Law. She had an Amber Alert over her name. You know how to take Amber Alerts. We all get the text to our phone. That's some major shit. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So they arrest me on the plane and they put me in the handcuffs, and that's when I realized it's my ex-husband. So I'm in TGK County Jail in Florida. That was a disaster. I got food poisoning. They had to rush me to the hospital, the jail hospital, and then I started acting out because I'm like, I got to get out of here. So they moved me to a somewhat nicer jail. I had to go to Miami Metro West, which is like closer to Fort Lauderdale, and that was a little better. And my lawyer was like, "This is fucked up." He said, "This is like being framed for murder with no body."
And keep in mind, everybody, she is her own man. She's being pulled off the public streets because of this crime that didn't happen. So she can't make any money. Her art is not getting out there. She's not touring. There's no activity under Jaguar right now because she keeps getting arrested. Now go. I'm sorry.
So I fought extradition, and then my lawyer said, "Jag, we can keep fighting. We can keep fighting." He said, "But the truth is, they're not going to let this go.
Mm.
You got to go." He said, "And I'll do my best to help find you an attorney there." So they extradited me. That was the first time I got extradited. And went to Chicago, went to the zoo, went to Cook County, 23rd California. And I had no bond. I was being held with no bond. And my ex-boyfriend at the time, he was frantic. Alex was frantic. He tried calling my ex-husband. "What do we got to do to work this out? Just drop the charges. She's trying to move on with her life." He was like, "She has no bond and she hasn't hurt anyone.
Mm.
This is what she chose to do, and this is the way the law is, and it has nothing to do with me. This is the law." So I'm sitting in a jail as a public figure where people recognize me. The guards used to watch my videos while they had me in handcuffs and shackles taking me to court. You know how messed up it is to have a CO ask you for your autograph while you handcuffed and shackled?
That's crazy.
This might be a good time for my son to explain to you how that felt for him to know what was going on and what was happening. You talk for a second, son.
All right. Okay. I guess I can explain how I was feeling at the time. That entire thing happening while I was in 8th grade was.
I don't know how the fuck you study.
Yeah. For clarification, like I'm a great student. Usually strive for. Yeah. I strive for straight A's with every year, trying to be better with each year I get through. And I've succeeded and passed every single grade up to that point.
Mm-hmm.
But by 8th grade, after seeing my mom arrested, when she was trying to help me be safe, help me stay fine, and being here, not only didn't feel right, but It's it started it started it started a couple of thoughts in me, a couple of dark things that were distracting me from my
Just say
own
it
work.
like it is. You were thinking about committing suicide and you had to go into a hospital
Oh my
twice.
God.
Yeah. At that point, I was starting to think that I was becoming a burden to whoever I was, or whoever I was with. And at the age of 12, not even a teenager, I started contemplating whether or not it was an option of whether or not I should die.
Wow.
To me, I thought I was a monster. How could a son be responsible for sending his own mother to jail because he
Mm.
decided to speak out about what happened? To me, at that time, it felt like being silent was a thing I should have done, but because I opened up, this happened. So I was sent.
Wait a minute. Tell me he don't sound like the rape survivors be sounding.
Yes. Yes.
Tell me he don't sound like a victim.
Yeah.
And Sam, I just before you tell me anymore, I just want to you do know that that is not the case, right? You have
Yeah.
processed the
I'm
fact
well aware.
that
I'm well aware that's not the case.
okay. All right.
That was how I was thinking at the time, and they had said, and
They put him on Prozac in the hospital.
yeah,
And when he went back to his dad because of the custody arrangement, his dad took him off, sent him to a therapist who told him that what he needed to do was forget about this, put it all in the past, and just focus on his studies.
yeah, and that was at that point in April when, at that point, for a student who's usually focused on getting B's and A's, maybe a C if he's not getting the material. The highest grade I had was either a C or a D. Everything else was either a D or an F.
Wow. Wow.
And
Wow.
that's not a normal occurrence either.
So let's fast forward to the next arrest that he saw. So I make it through all of that, right? I make it through all of that. Finally get a lawyer. They finally grant me bond. My ex Alex paid it, 10 racks, paid for the lawyer. I wanted to go to trial, but I had a show booked with Terry Lynn Carrington in Hong Kong at the Cultural Arts Festival in Hong Kong, and it was already booked.
Mm-hmm.
If I had decided to stay and fight it, I would have had to cancel on her and cancel that for my career, for my resume, because I wouldn't have been allowed to leave the country. So in order to get my passport back so I could go, I made a deal to reckless conduct, 3 or 4, and probation, 2 years probation, and parenting classes.
Wow.
I made the deal, I got out, did Hong Kong. He came back for the summer. He said, Mom, I don't want to go. I want to stay home with you. Got another lawyer, another $15K, and we won custody. But Chicago arrested me again. That was the last time you saw me get arrested, when I was taking you to school over here in Cedar Hill, and they arrested us. They arrested me when we got in the car, and they took you to be interviewed.
Yeah.
By CPS. At that point in time, for arrests, I was just fucking prepared. Let's do it. Sat in jail in Dallas for 2 months. My lawyer here, shout out to Paul Blocker, who's also first elder at my church, Dallas City Temple Seventh-day Adventist Church. Paul Blocker represented me. Texas wasn't going to let me go. They said it was bullshit. It was bogus. They had legal custody paperwork here in Dallas that said I had custody of my son, and they weren't giving me to Chicago. Chicago refused to respond. They wouldn't even acknowledge the custody paperwork that was sent to them by the DA's office. So I had custody of my son while I'm sitting in county jail fighting extradition to Chicago, who never had jurisdiction to carry out any of these charges in the first place, the first time or the second time.
Jeez Louise.
Because the custody arrangement was in Philadelphia. And I had lived in Texas longer than he had lived in Chicago. I had jurisdiction. That's why I won, and that's why I got custody in Dallas. All that time, he had been charging me and coming after me. He never even had legal custody changed to Chicago.
Wow.
They never had jurisdiction. So now Chicago is busy trying to ignore the legal documents in Texas, not wanting to admit that they never had the right to charge me. So what did they do? They doubled down. They got a governor's warrant. A governor's warrant for a nonviolent crime for a child whose legal custody was in another state. That's how fucking thirsty Illinois is. Fuck you, Crook County. Imagine being sitting in jail for child abduction when you have legal custody of the child that you're being accused of abducting. That's what I went through in Cook County. I fought 2 cases in jail. The custody case in Dallas, because after I got arrested and I was sitting in jail, and they upped my bond from $100,000 to $150,000.
Oh, you didn't think that they were when they found out who they were dealing with?
They upped my bond. So now I had to post 15 racks to get out. I had just paid 15 racks to win custody. By the way, y'all need to keep doing the math on all of this legal bullshit. My son's college fund was spent on the criminal justice system so this nigga could win $500 a month.
At the expense of his own child. At his expense.
Yes.
Now, I'm on the phone doing court in the social worker's office in jail, fighting to maintain custody. But by the time I got arrested, everything fell apart. My mom lost it. My son started getting high again. Poor Sam. And that's when my ex-husband started fighting to get custody back. He took advantage of that situation because I was, locked up. Because the truth is once we won custody, he had visitation. He could come once a month, have him for a weekend. He was supposed to do a bunch of stuff. He never came. He never visited him. He didn't even call. He didn't even send him a Christmas gift. It wasn't until he found out that I was in jail in Chicago when my mother's family, who was involved in surviving Chike, called him and told him what was going on. And then that's when he started pouncing.
That was the only time he visited Dallas.
Yeah.
At all.
Wow.
You tell him that.
That was literally the only time he visited. Once we were in that wreck of a place over at River Creek, around, I believe,
they got evicted from my from our lovely apartment home because my mom stopped paying the rent. She stopped paying the bills. She had a whole break. She didn't understand. And she crashed. She emptied out my bank account, emptied out her bank account, just started spending money, doing reckless shit. And then the
And
lawyer came in and wanted more money. And so she gave the lawyer the rent money. And then they got evicted.
so, Sam, this is the second time now that you've been
Mhm.
evicted. How are you feeling at that point? Like, what's going on through your head?
At that point, outside, the only thing I could do at that point, I was staying strong because I knew that all of the
Oh, my bad.
it's okay. This was becoming the
I
disaster,
was trying
but
to read the
oh yeah,
comments.
I was staying strong because I wanted to stay. I didn't want to leave, even if things were bad at the time. I knew it's like there's eventually a point, like there's a light at the tunnel.
Mm.
I could still stay there. I just have to survive through that. So spent the months with my brother and my grandmom over at Little Creek. But as the days went by, well, because of grandmom's new spending habits, which were a mess of logic that I don't think can even be described with common sense.
The shit that she did with Finger Hut. Oh God.
Not
That
finger.
fucking Finger. How
Wow.
many pairs of Stacey Adams did she buy you off of Finger Hut?
Shoot, I'm trying to remember. Like
I'm
literally,
sitting in jail. I'm sitting in jail getting people to send me money that they owe me. She's spending everything we got. She bought another car.
Wow.
bought another car, bought like I think 2 pairs of those Stacey Adams shoes. I
She
think.
and would not pay no rent.
Wow.
Yeah, and
People don't realize how hard I hold my family down.
Yeah.
I don't brag about it. I don't brag about my good deeds. So yeah, so all of this happened. I wasn't able to make it to the last custody hearing. If I was able to get out of jail in Chicago and make it to the last custody hearing, I could have maintained custody of him. But because I was forced not to appear because they kept pushing my trial back in Chicago, I lost custody. Not because I was a bad mother, not because I didn't legally obtain it, but because I was being detained in another state, and hence it was abandonment. I wasn't there. That's the
Right.
law.
Yeah.
And guess what? A week after I lost custody, they finally reduced my bond to $3,000, and I was allowed to leave the state and go home after I lost custody of my son for a crime that I didn't commit. I bonded out. I came back home. I get the phone call from my PD because I beat that case with a public defender and 160 court documents from Dallas. And that's when they said they were dismissing the case against me. And then they were going to terminate. I just had to do a couple of things, and they were going to terminate the probation on the first case, considering they were all attached and none of it was lawful. But it's still on my credit report, though, that I was charged with a felony. They never say that you beat it, but they make sure they put on there that you was charged with a felony.
Wow.
So even if I wanted to work a regular job, I moved around just because that's there.
Yeah.
On my credit report, even right now to this day, it says that I'm still on probation. And that ended in 2018.
Wow.
And it's still on my record. So I come home.
All that at the expense of your family and your
Yeah.
career.
And then I got hit, and then that's when he came for me after all of that with another child support order, which went into effect in September of 2018, and then my son was murdered 3 days later.
Now that is the pivotal point where things totally break for you, because you were out of self. Like, you, at that point, the break had happened. Do you feel comfortable talking about that a little bit? Because I know that that's something that still.
Hold on a second. We
Okay.
can talk about it. Just hold on a second.
I'm still here.
Sam, I know I'm coming back to you. I want to give you your flowers, nephew, and tell you that you are very resilient. You have the light of God that lives within inside of you. You are a dynamic human being, and continue being you because you're dope as
Okay.
fuck.
I just wanted to make sure the whole family was here. This is Giovanni.
Yeah.
This is my son, Giovanni Chike Emmanuel Wright. Born September 5th, 1993. He would have been 29 this year. Fat Kid did this for him in honor of his memory.
Mm.
The first time my son saw his brother's urn was May of this year.
Mm.
Just sitting there watching him look at it, trying to compute the fact that that's his brother in that jar. Because he wasn't allowed to be here for the funeral. Why don't you tell him why you couldn't come home for your brother's funeral?
Yeah. Back in April of, let's see, I think was that 2018 at the time. That one time my father was down in Texas while we were in Little Creek. The last days in which I saw my brother, he had three other family members, brought 3 other family members with him. They had convinced me that considering my grandma not being in this right state of mind, wasn't giving me like enough food for breakfast at the time, and was just spending money all over the place. I didn't have money for lunch at school to get extras or even for breakfast. I was going in and out of school some days feeling a bit extra more hungry than before. And with the whole place being a mess, they had effectively talked me out of my stance of staying there due to how things were at Little Creek. And I was sent back with my father. And both of us would go to Plymouth meeting. And that was the last place. And there would be the last time I'd move during my high school years.
Mm.
And through that time, after I still remember this. I was at my uncle's house in Philadelphia, and I was working on a mural.
I saw that mural. I have a picture of it. Me and your stepdad went to go see Uncle Dan, and we got a picture of the mural. It's fucking fantastic.
Mm.
Wasn't able to finish it, but I still remember the ink
You
mark
can
is
still
there.
finish it. We can go back and see Uncle Dan, and you can finish it. I just talked to him the other day.
I'd like to. Yeah, I remember I was taking a break in the meantime inside his house, see my dad come by, and he dropped the news that he told me that my brother Giovanni was dead.
Mm.
And at the time, I was holding back the tears when I was hearing it, but thinking of it now, I would have been a bit more emotional about it, considering it's like he had just died. But Dad told me that even it is sad that my brother had died, but I still had to go to school.
Mm.
And I'm not sure if they would, and he wasn't sure if the school would allow me being absent for, even though it's such a delicate matter.
Pause. Can we just take a second to take that in?
Y'all are killing me.
Your brother, who you were forced to be away from, who was old enough to look after you and take care of you, just got murdered in the street. But you got to go to school because you don't know if they'll let you off, for something like, I don't know, your brother getting shot 8 times and being left to die in a fucking parking lot for 8. Oh my.
not only does it make sense, but it's infuriating greatly.
Sam.
Listen to me right now. I don't care what nobody think about me. I don't care what you think about me as a mother. I don't care about what you think about me as a person. What kind of fucking parent tells their child that their brother just got murdered, but you gotta fucking go to school? Don't feel anything. Just go to school. Like your brother ain't dead. Like this ain't real. Motherfuckers.
Sam.
These motherfuckers. Go ahead.
I have a question for you, Sam.
Yeah.
Do you remember the last time that you saw your brother?
The last time I saw him was like that April before I left Little Creek.
Wait a second. Like this ain't real? Hold on a second. Let me show you how real this is. You see that tag? Crematory, Dallas, Texas. 6342. You see the ash in that bag? But go to school though. I don't care what none of y'all think about me.
That's sickening.
If you think that a good parent would tell their child, hey, your sibling just got mad, but you got to get up and go to school. If you think that's good parenting, God forgive me because it's the Sabbath. You can eat my whole ass out after I take a shit without wiping. Yes.
Yeah. The only the last full vivid memory that I had of my brother was last happy memory that I had with him was before we got evicted from Huntington Ridge. We were playing on my console on the Wii U. We were playing a game together, and it was one of the few times I remember having fun with my brother, just having a good moment. In that Little Creek, he was off doing his own thing. Really.
Tell him why you couldn't go to the funeral. Tell him why you couldn't go to your brother's funeral.
I wasn't allowed to take a flight to go through my father's means, and over there in Philly, they decided that, well, since most of them weren't going to bother going, like they said, well, we couldn't make it. Well, no, the real reason is you don't want to go. They decided to make their own sort of funeral party over there on Hawthorne Street in Frankfurt. For those who know, and for those who don't know the area, it's one of those areas that we call the streets.
Yeah.
Anything can happen over there. And you want to know what happened? In the midst of the party, I was in an alley on where the tables were set up where you can sit down and eat. I was heading out the alley, and as I was looking at the alley, my left eye is able to pick up someone who was holding something that was pitch black, but he was holding it out with one arm. He was holding a firearm, a pistol. And I could see the muzzle flash as he fired. I ran back in the alley immediately as possible and hid under the tables. After
you just lost your brother to gun violence.
Yes. How twisted is that? To know that your older brother had died from gun violence at a time when he was still innocent, mind you, and to go to a party in which someone pulled that off, one of his enemies who didn't want to go, mind you, and was out to kill one of his friends, my brother's friend. And if he had gone off on a killing spree, I could have been shot and killed
in the same way as my brother under
So
different circumstances. Absolutely criminal. And what's even more sickening was that at the time after the gunshot was fired, my father wasn't near me at the time. Keep in mind, I said I had to fend for myself and hide under the table so that no one could see me and that I may hide in obscurity. He didn't come until roughly a minute after the gunshot, where he picked me up and then we drove off.
Mm.
So when my mom heard about it, afterwards, hearing what had just happened, she was outright infuriated that I wasn't able to go. But he told me to tell her in the call that could have happened basically anywhere.
Mm. That was how he rationalized that? It could happen anywhere?
Yeah, he rationalized it as such. When in all sense of fairness, we all know that it's in those areas like Frankfurt where that happens most often.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so...
Pause. By the way, all of this happened on the day of my son's funeral. That shooting happened on my son's funeral. One of his best friends died on the day. His death date is my son's funeral date, September 17th. So imagine, I just get finished the service at church. We're having a private dinner repast at Gloria's in Bishop Arts here in Dallas. And I get the phone call that my only living child is now a witness at a shooting. And it was one of my son's enemies who came to kill his friends. And they wondered why I didn't bring his body back to have a funeral in Philadelphia for that to happen. That's why I didn't bring him back. On top of that, he died in Texas. We live in Texas. His blood, my DNA, spilled on the ground in Texas. You wanted to honor him so bad, why the fuck didn't you show up? I called it divine retribution. Y'all tried to overstep his mother. Y'all tried to overstep who I am in his life and do your own fucking thing. And you got an innocent boy killed. And that young man had just had a baby.
Mm.
Yeah. Insidious.
Jag.
Tasha K, you can kiss my ass, bitch. I'm coming for you. The Keep It a Bean podcast is coming for you. You interviewed my son, Ho. Did you ask him any of this? Because he would have told you everything. She just asked simple questions. Why didn't you ask him none of this on your fucking shit? On your Surviving Jaguar right on Patreon? How much money you get off us, Ho? How much money did you make off of us, Ho? But he's the better parent, huh?
What happens with you after the aftermath of your son's death? Where's Jag?
I got one son dead. I got one son being held hostage. I got a family disloyal and broken. I got a company that I just started. I got shows I already booked before I knew that my son was going to be murdered. I went back to work.
Now,
I smoked 8 grams of weed a day, sometimes a whole gram a day. I drove Lyft. until they revoked me because I had a felony charge on my background. And then I doubled down on building the company. And then, I mean, pretty much every day, me and Sam would talk every now and then, but it was hard to talk to him because I knew the position he was in. I knew just talking to me was bringing stress in his life. And everybody needed some kind of peace.
So,
And then I had the gun, and I would come back to my son's apartment. Because after Giovanni died, I assumed the rest of his lease, so I would have some time to work on making sure that his murderer was charged and wrapping up the details of my family, of my son's life. And I would sit there when I finally got his urn because they lost his ashes. Do you know how bad of a mother I felt? I lost my son after he was dead. They sent his ashes to the wrong crematorium. I finally tracked them down and they delivered them. And I said, ain't this a bitch? Being a mom never ends. I was still nervous, worried about where he was, and he was dead.
but that's my
And
whole
then I
point.
got him home.
That's my whole point in asking this, because all these things that are compiled on top of each other, it's so layered and it's so thick and it's so heavy.
And strategic.
And you have to worry about an appendage of yourself, being Sam, being somewhere and you don't know if he's safe, knowing that he was in a place where he was safe and he was taken by ill-begotten means.
Listen to me. There's a story in the Bible. There were two mothers during the time and the reign of King Solomon. They both had infants around the same age. One of the women rolled over on her child in the middle of the night, suffocated a baby died. So she took the other woman's baby and said it was hers. The other mother woke up, realized her child was missing, started looking around, noticing the woman was sitting there with her baby. She said, that's my baby. What are you doing? No, it's not. That's my baby. It goes before the king. Whose baby is this? My baby. It's my baby. He said, well, I got an idea. Bring me a sword. Bring me the child. I'm going to cut him in half and the both of y'all can have a part. And the real mother said, no, she can have him. And King Solomon said, take that baby from that woman and give it to his real mother, because only a real mother would give her child up to save his life. I gave my son up to save his life.
So
Twice, 2 visits to psychiatric hospitals where he was being medicated because he wanted to commit suicide because he felt like living was hurting his mother.
can I ask you a question? Especially during that time, was he the only one? Did he have company in that thinking?
What do you mean?
Meaning you. Where were you during that time mentally? Did you have those thoughts?
Oh yeah, after Giovanni, I would sit down, I would come home, that's where I was. I would come home, sit with his ashes, I would smoke a blunt. I really wasn't eating at all. Just water, weed, music, and the ashes. And I had the gun, and I would put the gun down. I would check it, make sure it was loaded. And then I would wait to see if I felt like putting one in the chamber, I thought about killing myself a lot. All the time. And, my son was dead. So him being dead and me being alive, that didn't feel right. My other son, his life was tortured because I was his mother and he was being used as a pawn his entire existence. I thought maybe it would just be better if I just, fuck it, let them all win. And it was when Gerald crash test dummied into my life. It was right before the holidays were coming, Christmas was coming, and that was my favorite holiday with my kids, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's the one holiday that an entertainer can guarantee that they don't have to work unless they want to.
Right.
So that was my time, you know, my family and the cooking and the memories and the Mario Kart battles and playing handball in the living room in front of the fireplace. And it was going to be my first Christmas without both of my sons, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was just, fuck it, I'll skip it. And I went to the V, and I was sitting right across from where me and my son used to sit when he would get off work. You know, if he got a big paycheck, we go to the V, I buy him a drink and congratulate him on being a man. And I'm just sitting there looking at the seats, and my friends in there, you know, they knew I was emotional. But I had made up my mind that night, you know. I'm just going to go home, you know, and just. I was going there alone by myself anyway, wasn't nobody around. So, you know, I figured they'd find me in a couple days. And then Gerald walked over to me. And he walked up and he said, "Mother, can I hug you?"
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't very touchy-feely in that time. I didn't want nobody touching me. But I let him hug me. And I swear to God, it was in that moment I just broke down. And you know, throughout the rest of the night, he talked to me and I talked to him. And I knew if I went back to that apartment by myself, I was going to kill myself.
Mm.
So we started listening to my demos, and he started singing along. We started listening to music. And I said, "Would you just come sit with me tonight? We can smoke, we can listen to music." He said, "Yeah." So he came back to that apartment with me, to my son's apartment with me. And he looked at me that night and he said, "I thought about killing myself last week too."
Mm.
He said, maybe we can help find a way to keep each other alive. And that's how my relationship with my husband began. We were battle buddies, you know, in the foxhole together.
Mm.
But after a week, I started living again. I started eating again. Because I wasn't eating. I couldn't eat. Every time I went to go eat something, all I could smell was my son's dead body.
Mm.
I couldn't get the smell of his body out of my nose for 2 months. Every time I went to eat food, it just turned rancid in my mouth. So I don't give a fuck what nobody say about my husband. If you love me, if you fucks with me, if you think I'm great, you need to thank him, because I wasn't going to be here. And then he said, Even if you don't stay here for me, you gotta stay here for Sam. He's gonna be 18 soon. And he's gonna need you. So trouble don't last always.
No.
And that's what I did.
And
I
God,
just patiently waited
God
for my son to turn
intervenes.
18.
And God intervenes, Jag, when you least expect it, and you never know in the forms in which He reveals Himself.
Fuck every last one of y'all that believes any of that fucking shit on that surviving Jag. I'm surviving Jaguar, right? The fuck them pussies survived.
And so,
Every ungrateful motherfucker in that goddamn video lived off of me, ate off of me, succeeded off of me in one way or the fucking other, and you survived me. Sounds like I helped you thrive. I'm surviving me. Who the fuck want to be me? You're more than welcome. Please give me a rest.
no,
Every motherfucker that got anything to say.
you
Oh, by
already
the
know
way,
that she has
hashtag
Taurus energy.
hashtag bring down the barbs. Fuck y'all. People want to know why I get so touchy about victims and survivors. Listen to my life.
And that's my whole point with you, Jag. You know, people wonder why you're like the way you are. At a point in time, you heard this woman's story. She had nothing to lose. Why? Why would she shut up? Why would she be quiet? At a point in time where all bullies are bullying on you, at some time you snap. At some time you have had it.
You
At
want to
some
know
time it has
what's
to come to an
interesting?
end.
They have been lightweight bullying me for fucking over a decade. You didn't think I was going to have a reaction? Eventually? Let's be clear on this part. My ex-husband has still maintained a working friendship with the Roots this entire time. He still sells them discount polos. Still.
Mm.
Every time a project was about to come out, I get paperwork from family court. Does that sound like a coincidence? Then I find out a week later, he done got them some wardrobe clothes. Yeah, keep that bitch busy. She about to make a move. Keep that bitch busy. We'll keep telling people to come buy clothes from Ralph Lipschitz fucking shit-ass fucking company. Fuck child support. I done already paid through the nose. What's up, Toke? It's just real shit this morning, Toke. Say hi to our Tokyo, babe.
Hello.
I can't wait for y'all two to meet in public, in person. Y'all gonna love each other. She crazier than me. But she a mama bear just like me. She fighting a good fight. Even though her daughter caught up, she fighting a good fight. I want to send prayers out to Black China and the children. China, I pray for you. This family prays for you every day that you find your way through all of that demonic stuff they trying to put you through. Your mother loves you, China. Me and your mother cry for you, China.
Now that Tokyo's in the room, it's a better opportunity now to talk about what's happening now.
You know, Philadelphia TV Network is what's happening now. .com. Register today. Register and subscribe today. It's 24 hours a day. Jaguar Wright, me and my raw, unfiltered. Oh, by the way, that first virtual concert that we did on the 1st, is now available on the network. They can go and see it for themselves. My first performance in 2 years on stage after coming back from COVID. I ain't do too bad.
Hey, Tokyo, follow me. I want to talk to you. Follow me, Tokyo.
Toke, you need to follow. You need to follow Chike. You gotta go talk to Chike. That's my baby, Toke. I put my name on it. I put that on my dead son. That's part of the reason why me and Toke so close. So what happened to me don't happen to her.
Mm.
God bless Toke. She got something that I don't got. I'm never going to have grandchildren from my son unless there's a baby out there. And if there is a baby out there, please let's do the DNA test because I would love to see his eyes again.
Mm.
There was rumors that there was a baby out there right after he died, but it died down. I was like, fuck it, I'm Jaguar right. If it's real, she'll come find me one day.
Yeah.
That would be like the best Christmas present ever to find out that I had a grandchild from Giovanni.
Mm.
That would be the best Christmas present, even if it happened in March.
Mm.
You know?
Have you been writing this whole time?
Yeah. Yeah, I just started writing something this morning. How did it go? Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words that cannot hurt me. Your words that cannot hurt me. Sticks and stones could break my bones, but your words will never hurt me. Your words could never hurt me, 'cause no weapon formed against me shall prosper. No, they won't. No, they won't. No weapon. I don't know. I think it's going somewhere. That's what came to me this morning before I logged on too. Man.
Yeah. Got it here. I can't wait to hear that. You sound
Yeah.
good, lady. You sound good.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So tell me more about the network. What all can we see? What's going to be happening?
Everything.
I'm going to subscribe and I'm going to see what?
Everything. Well, right now, if you go on, you can go and see the original airing of MTV Unplugged with me and Jay-Z and the Roots. The whole show.
And
it
that
looks
should
like a time capsule.
That would be interesting to watch, especially now that we have more of a backstory. Like,
yeah. I'm creating a history kind of like gallery of all of my performances throughout the years so people can come and get to know all of me.
Mm-hmm.
From the different stages of my career. There's little Jag, there's big Jag, there's in between Jag. We also have my virtual video diary that I do live on Saturdays. And it's crazy because after everything we discussed, what I'm talking about in my video journal today is just as heavy and completely different. But my video journals, if you miss it live, we put them up on video on demand so you can still go back and see them. We also are running our first commercial for our first show on the network. It's called Love Connections. And it's a virtual blind dating show brought to us by the Official Kingpin from YouTube. Go to theofficialkingpin.com if you actually want to be, a cast member for the show. And so that's going to debut on the Dallas WTV network. It's going to be awesome. And then we also are running the Night and Day Network cartoon parodies. So all of those cartoons that you saw about me and my husband on the road and all of that, they're all up on the channel. And they'll be putting more content up. I can't wait till they give us one of their movies. Actually, I need to ask them today if we can upload Kanye Get Out. They did a cartoon parody movie called Get Out Kanye.
Oh, wow.
And it is hysterical. One of my favorites. I hope they let me put that up. That would be great. Because that was a Christmas gift that Goomba had got for me. Christmas of 2020. And and we watched it and laughed our asses off on Christmas. Kanye, get out! You ain't got the answers, man. It's dope. So I'm hoping they'll let me put that up for Christmas. So we have that on the channel now. And the first virtual concert is up on the channel now. And what's coming next to the channel is my podcast, Keep It a Bean with Jaguar Wright and Panel. And the panelists are Brian Reveals from the Dynamite Network, Nosy Ho Live from YouTube, Sherelle's World from YouTube, The Official King Payne from YouTube, me, and Tokyo Tony. And we also have what we call a wild card seat. And this will be a surprise guest that comes in who's a total wild card and share their point of view on whatever topics are on the floor. So yeah, Keep It a Bean with Jaguar Wright and Panel.
I like that. I like that
so
a lot.
Please subscribe because we start filming tomorrow.
Nice.
And then there's the music. My Lost album is up on the channel. I'm going to be doing a live listening party preview of the upcoming EP that we're releasing first quarter next year, Delayed but Not Defeated. And you're going to be able to preview it, and we'll be taking footage in the studio while we're doing all of that stuff, and me writing my next studio album, which we're looking to release third, fourth quarter of next year.
Nice.
So you'll get the EP first, and then you'll get the full album at the end of the year. And we're going to be documenting the whole thing, so you really get to just take that journey and that ride with me. Yeah.
I've always wanted to experience that, like what it felt like and looked like for someone to create an album from soup to nuts. I always wanted to go on that journey with someone to experience that.
Well, that's going to happen.
That'd be
on
very
the WTV network.
Love it.
Right. Not only that, we're about to start going into partnership with local filmmakers, and we're going to kind of create like our own underground video show.
Nice.
So that's going to be great. And I have a couple other partnerships, but the next big thing other than the podcast is going to be the Philadelphia Jam Sessions. And I'm going to recreate that whole Black Willie experience and vibe on the channel.
Nice.
And we're going to have cameras on all of it. So it's amazing. And I'm going to be bringing Gene Deal to the channel first quarter next year.
And so, and that was going to be my next question, because I know that you're very passionate about introducing us to new artists. So I know that, yeah. Talk about that a little bit.
Oh, man. The artist I'm going to be bringing to the channel, just subscribe. Y'all see, if people see the way that I turn people on to music when I'm on Instagram or something like that, imagine that, but on your television with the artist in front of you, you know? So it's going to be amazing. We haven't come up with the name for what we want to call the show, but it is going to be hosted by Javon Angel.
Nice.
And Javon Angel is amazing. Please look him up. Make sure you go follow him at JEVONANGEL right here on Instagram. Of course, I'm going to be doing stuff on the channel with Rakeem Al-Jabbar. You know, I'm going to get, like I said, I'm going to pick right back up where I left off. Syph from the band The Found. I'm getting back in the loop with him. I want to put cameras on him so y'all can see why you loved that EP that I broke right here on IG 2 years, almost 2 years ago now. You know, so we get to do that on camera. And I get to partner with one of the most awesome camera crews and production crews in the city, and that's Real Life Street Stars.
Sis, I'm so glad you're back. Like, you don't even know. You don't even know. Like, over the years, not being able to touch and agree with you has been a little rough. Because I miss you. I really do. I miss you.
I miss you.
Yeah.
I miss our dinners.
Yes. Yes. You know,
Nigga, nobody had dinner like we had dinner.
No. And I'm going to tell you what I really miss.
We would have the dinners at the house, and everyone would come over, and we would listen to music, and all those were good times. And you and Maddie running all over the place.
Yeah.
You remember my white daughter, Maddie? Justin's girl.
Yes. Yeah. I remember and miss those times where I would be caught up in my day or whatever, and I would get this rogue, random, like, listen, this conversation with Chike Evans thing is here, but I also work a 9 to 5. I got a whole nother situation. I'd be at work.
He's a first responder.
Yeah.
Salute.
Thank you.
You was on the front lines, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, still am. It's serious. But listen, I'm blessed. But
yes, you are.
Being at work and getting a text or a call from Jag, you know, back in the day, where you at? What you doing? Let's do lunch. I'm like, oh, I'm at work. Hey, can I go home early? Because I gotta go meet Jag. I gotta get out of here.
Ooh.
And I used to love that. We'd meet up and just talk and eat and talk and talk and eat. Yeah. I miss you, sis.
Man, have a few cocktails, have a few laughs.
Yeah.
I may sing a song or two.
Mm-hmm.
God forbid David ran around with a guitar. And Barbara Cherie show up. And next thing you know, we having a whole cypher vibe. Oh, man. I'm coming back home soon.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see you. You know, I might even meet you at the airport. I'm just saying.
Oh, I ain't coming to no airport.
Oh, okay.
I will never take a plane in or out of Philadelphia ever again in my life.
Well, you let me know. I'll be wherever.
Listen to me. I'm pulling up.
I love you. Jag, thank you so much for this interview. Thank you for your candor. Thank you for your openness. And
this was an interview?
It was an interview. You know it, but it was an interview.
We were just talking.
But that's how we do. That's how we do.
Conversations.
Yes.
With Chike.
Yes. And I knew that it was going to be phenomenal because you're phenomenal. And over the years, you have always given me nothing but 100% authentic Jaguar right. And I so love you and appreciate you for it.
It's easy to do when that's what you're receiving in return.
Thank you so much. Nephew, is he still there?
Yep.
Thank you so much for your candor and your openness. I appreciate you, brother.
Sure thing.
Absolutely.
We're all going to be together for Christmas this year.
That's what's up. I want y'all to love on each other hard. Love on each other really, really hard.
Guess what we're doing for Christmas this year?
What are you doing?
Making memories.
Anything else is fleeting because you can't take it with you. Those you can take with you. I love you.
That's what we're doing. We're going to go. We're going to write music with Keith Young. I'm going to cook. He wants to go bowling, so we got to find a bowling alley that's open. My mom wants chess pie, so I'm going to make those. And Gerald, I think he just wants to smoke weed all day.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
What's wrong with it?
Yeah, I know. I'm going to join him.
Happy holidays, sis. Seriously. I love you.
I'm going to be calling you to say Merry Christmas.
You better.
I'm probably going to call you. Hang on the mistletoe. I'm going to get to know you better. This Christmas. You
Yeah.
know I'm going to call you singing.
All right. I want it. I'm here for it. I want y'all to hug and love on each other for me. Seriously, because I can't be there to do it. Love and hug on each other. Much love and much light, and happy holidays to y'all. Jag, I'll talk to you soon.
I got one last thing to say.
Say it, sister.
There is nothing that I wouldn't go through for my children.
That part.
Jail, death, whatever. Know that about me. Everything that I went through for this child, I didn't have to go through.
Mm.
I could have said, you know what, whatever you want, just leave me alone. But he told me, Mom, you want to go home. Are you the kind of mother or father that would be willing to put your freedom and put your career on the line because you believe your child?
Mm.
That's a parent. That's a parent. For all of you who got opinions, ask yourself, would you tank your career and go to jail for your child? Would you? As hard as I worked and with everything that I sacrificed and everything that I went through to become what I became, and to walk away from it for your children, for your sanity, for your conscience. Would you go to jail for your kid? I did. And I'd do it again. How about that? Sticks and stones may break my bones, but your words will never hurt me. No weapon formed against this vessel of God will ever prosper. End it when you want to. I'm just putting this here.
I'm going to end it with his image at the end. Jag, I love you. Power, blessings, and peace to you.
Oh, I stopped drinking, but I can't wait to have a martini with you.
That part.
Love
Part.
you, Chike.
Love you. Mwah.